Yes, good evening. Welcome back to Football Heritage TV. Hopefully, many of you have just followed over from Sean's channel. So we're literally just going to pick up where we left off. Lubo still probably trying to work out how to join a link. He'll be joining us soon. Welcome to Sean from Spurs Talk Show and Connor, Levy-nomics 1882, which was the year Lubo was born. So it's all very apt. For anyone who hasn't seen it, England have just beaten Spain 3-1, the under-21s. I don't know how. I thought Spain were absolutely superior, but England have won 3-1. And I'm just going to put it out there, guys. Harvey Elliott. I'm just going to, before we start the show, Harvey Elliott, I think absolutely wasted at Liverpool. Would anyone take him at Spurs?
Yep.
Got that little bit of nasty about him.
Love him. Love him.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, I just, whenever I watch him, he just seems like a real tidy footballer. Do you know what I mean? Not scared to run at people, not scared to have a shot. I'd take him all day long. Homegrown. Liverpool will probably be wanting to sell because of the players they're bringing in. Just saying.
Yeah, I think they won 35 million quid for him.
God, I'd take that all day long. And by the way, another one I like. Lubo's boy didn't get on tonight again. Gray. Didn't get on the pitch. I'll tell you what's worrying is we're talking about, everyone's talking about, Archie Gray's a DM or a central midfielder. I'm watching England, Tyler Morton, who was on loan at Hull last year from Liverpool. He's starting above him in midfield. So is Hayden Hackney. So is who else started in front of him today? So is all these people are starting in midfield above Archie Gray. It truly worries me. Guys, girls, smash the like button. And I'm going to start off. I'm going to go to Connor. Lots of news today flying around about Paulinho. Apparently, Build have come out and said that he's available for 25 million euros, which is, without putting words, isn't that the biggest no-brainer you've ever seen? A DM, experienced, knows the Premier League, apparently still owns a property in London, 25 million euros. Wouldn't you be knocking on that Bayern door with this special relationship we've got with them?
Yeah, I think you've got to be all over that, haven't you? I think, I think what it also allows you to do is, how old is he? What, 29, 30? You get 2-3 years out of him, gives you a chance to look at Archie Gray in the number 6 in a few years' time, because he certainly, to your earlier point, is nowhere near ready now. And I suppose the club might be thinking, if they do see him and if Frank does see him as the future number 6, do they really want to sign a 24, 25-year-old who's going to be here for 5, 6, 7 years or whatever? Paulinho is a complete no-brainer.
Mm. Yeah, Sean, are you surprised? Like we talked about this a while back, mate, but
yeah,
whether or not Frank's going to play with an out-and-out 6 or whether he's going to play with a 2 pivoting in midfield, for me, this guy is an absolute no-brainer. And it just makes me laugh in all the conversations we've had with Bayern Munich, that at no point have we gone, I'll tell you what, that's the guy we want. Don't give us the rest of the Kane money. We want Paulinho, not Tell. Does that surprise you that we've not done that? Or do you think maybe we have?
Look, I'll be honest. You and I were talking about Paulinho. Was it 2 months ago we started talking about it, mate? Maybe 6, 7 weeks ago. And I'm not trying to be like a claimer here, but I don't remember many people talking about Paulinho to Tottenham until we were thinking about, well, if we don't, why do we want Tell if Bayern Munich owe us the money? Why don't we go and get someone else from Bayern Munich? And then we spoke about Paulinho, and then that became the narrative. But he hasn't been linked with Tottenham. The problem for me, mate, is that it was a no-brainer for me as a player in an Ange system. It was like in an Ange system, the fact that we had inverted fullbacks, or when they were narrow or when they were wide, they were essentially playing as two, almost like wide 10s. They were so high up the pitch to the absence of a 6, like a Paulinho, who isn't a good ball-playing 6. He's a protector. He's an enforcer. He's got that, that sniff of threat as his DNA, but doesn't do much else. It made so much sense in an Ange system. Under a Frank system that might play, depending on the circumstance, we're not sure yet, but might play 30% of the time as a 5, a back 3. If you're playing a back 3, you don't need a 6 in the guise of a Polinia. Same as like an Amadou Onana we were linked with today. Same with Frendrup, right? Like these guys they're all the Polinia type of players. They're not very good with the ball at their feet. What they are very good at is getting the ball back to their feet and then handing it over to someone else. And if you're playing in a back three, then you can't. If you're playing a 3-4-3, which is the way I'd imagine that Frank is going to play in a back three, then you can't really afford to have one of your two central midfielders to be poor at distribution. So I don't think I'm like, and even in a back four with a double pivot, maybe it makes sense. And at 25 million, of course, it makes sense regardless. But I'm just like, for me, under a Thomas Frank system, I think that the need for a 6, the profile of the 6 changes a little bit. I'm not wrong.
More of a ball player, more of a deep line ball player rather than a destroyer.
Like a Samuel Ritchie. We spoke about him as well, right? Like someone like him, like
he can play.
He can like someone like him, someone like I mean, I don't know. We'll talk about them, I'm sure, but like there's loads of examples, but there's just different versions of a 6. Like there's no 6 is the same. I'm just not sure that under a Thomas Frank system that Polinia is necessarily the profile of the 6 that you want, because I think it hands over a shitload of responsibility to the other 6, the other 8 or whatever, to be spotless with their distribution. And I don't think that Bergvall is quite there yet, and I don't think Bentancur is a distribution chief either. I think he's good, but he's not incredible. And so if you're going to get a Polinia, then you need a partner for him that is like top draw, like 95th, 98th percentile at distribution, and I don't think we have that in our ranks either. So I'm less inclined to think that Polinia is as desirable for me under a Thomas Frank system. But at 25 million quid, I'm also kind of like on a value for money basis. There's not a lot to kind of argue about here. You know,
is it not worth
more relevant, Sean, as well if Romero goes?
Yeah,
because
exactly.
Romero
Exactly.
we are
100%.
so reliant on Romero for any sort of passing through the lines or possession build up.
100%.
If he goes as well, and then you replace him with a centre back who is maybe not as good at passing out from the back, then it becomes really important to get a deep lying playmaker type 6 rather than a destroyer 6.
Yeah, I completely agree. I saw that Romero said, there was rumours out from Argentina. The Romero's basically said that he's staying. He wants to stay now. Wants to be a part of the project. So if that's true, then especially if we play a back three, then you have the options in Van der Ven that can drive the ball forward, not necessarily as good at passing, but can run the ball out. And then Romero, you've got the best passing centre back in the Premier League. So I'm not massively happy with Romero's behaviour, but at the end of the day, when he's playing and he's fit, there isn't a better centre back that passes the ball. So on that basis, if he does stay, I think it's even less of a need for Polinia, if I'm honest. Still love the guy, just not quite as sure he fits.
Yeah, I mean, Lubo, let me just ask you. That's a good point that Sean brings up, right? Like, I think under an Ange system, you know, I feel like the only person in world football that didn't understand he needed a number 6 was Ange. Like, I think everyone watched and went, please buy a 6. But is Sean right? That does the scope of what a centre mid does now change for Frank?
I think Sean's right up to halfway. I'll go the other 50%, and I will say that I think we should have players that suit both systems that Frank's going to play.
Interesting.
So if he's going to play, because if you've got someone like Polinia who will do all the dirty jobs, who, you know, get the ball, win it, give it, he'll give it to Maddison. Maddison can play. He'll give it to the wing backs that will play. He'll give it to Eze if Eze joins. So there are plenty of other players. You know, everybody has their own skill sets. All the other guys can't run around and intercept and win tackles and cover the way Polinia can. And I think that is key, because you've got to have someone that does that job. It can't just be all sexy football. And, you know, this is what we've got under Ange. Nobody could do that job. No one can break up play, and teams just roll straight through us. So, yes, I agree that we did need a Polinia for the Ange system, but I think you need every team needs a quality player like Palhinha. I think he's one of the best in the business.
Mm.
He's not at Rodgers' level, but he's very good.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, Connor, obviously I've not spoken to you before tonight, so I don't know your opinions on Frank, etc. But I think, what we've seen with Frank is he can float from the back four to the back three when he needs to. All right, last year I don't think he did it as much, but in some of the bigger games, he did go to the back three, play the wing backs, which arguably we've all said for years, why isn't Ange playing a back three? We've got centre backs and brilliant wing backs. With that in mind, do you think that changes the style of midfielder that we're going to bring in? And are we all just thinking it's a given that we bring in a midfielder? We're all talking about what midfielder we're going to get. Maybe he goes with Bergvall, Gray, Bentancur, Basuma Sarr. Like maybe he thinks there's enough there to recreate what he had at Brentford.
Yeah, I think we will sign a midfielder. I think because I think Basuma will go as well. So I think just in terms of bodies, they need to get one in there, and I think we do need a six. Because we've got so many number 8s in my mind. Bentancur, Bergvall, Sarr are all 8s. And obviously Archie Gray, as we mentioned, isn't quite ready to be a number 6 yet. So I think they will sign one. I thought it was quite telling that Frank mentioned Bentancur in his interview, and he was one of the senior players he picked out, particularly as obviously I think Bentancur's contract is up next year. So I thought that was quite a telling sign that 1, he's staying, and 2, he views him as important. I mean, pre-Ange and pre-injuries, Bentancur for me, other than Kane, was probably our best player. That sort of last year Conte, and I could see him playing him, but he needs to. For me, he's not a 6, Bentancur, so you still need to play someone with him that can play that role.
Yeah, because at Brentford, he's kind of doing that double thing, isn't he? Where he has the 2 guys, whether it be Norgard, it was normally Norgard and one other like Janel or Yarmouk, or I'm missing one, but Jensen was another one, wasn't he? Jensen. But he had a little bit more emphasis, guys, didn't he, on that 2 did the midfield job first and foremost rather than gung-ho, and then allowing the front 4 to go with Damsgaard as the playmaker, which I would see Maddison doing. So for me, it's a lot more exciting. But if I move away from Palhinha, guys, it is silly season, and Tottenham, we always are linked to every man and their dog. Semenyo, we touched upon it on the end of your show there, Sean. Semenyo is one that is massively being talked about. Ornstein's come out yesterday and said that Spurs like him, but we're kind of bulking at the price. Where do you sit with this, Sean? Because loads of Spurs fans are going, 65 million off Semenyo, it's way too much. But these are the prices now, right? These are homegrown players that are proven in the Premier League. Isn't this what we've got to do? You've got to pay some of those prices, right? Or do you think it is too much?
70 million for Semenyo?
65, 70. Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money. Like if you go back 2 years, it wasn't a lot of money. You look now at this summer right now. The only real benchmarks that are out there to kind of gauge the market. I think we touched on this on the last show. I'm just not sure where the weighting is. I asked Connor this question on my channel a minute ago. Like, is it because the market that they don't know if it's a buyer's market or a seller's market? Because you've got the Liam Delaps, you've got the fact that Gyökeres and Sesko are available for about the same money as Sesko, maybe even less, which is crazy. And then on the other end of the market, you've got Florian Wirtz going to Liverpool for crazy sums. Maybe they're now about to go and do more for Guehi. Alex Isak is another option that's going to cost apparently 180 million, like a British track transfer record. So I just don't think the world knows really where we're at, because it's a weird environment. So I think that everyone's doing this kind of Mexican standoff where everyone's pointing fingers at everybody else, but no one wants to pull the trigger first, because if you do it first, you don't know if you're going to be on the receiving end of 100 bullets coming back at you. So I'm not sure.
The striker market, Sean, is the biggest indicator of that, isn't it? Once the first domino falls, whether that be Ekatike, Sesko, Gyökeres, once one of them goes, it then frees up the others to know.
And there's
loads, right?
Yeah, and I would extend, I think that there's more strikers available this summer at the top end of the game than there has been in maybe the last 3 years combined. Imagine if Harry Kane was still within 1 year of his contract at Tottenham right now looking for a move. I don't think we'd get 100 million for him, because you've got Sesko's out there for 60 million, 65 million. You've got Blocker at 70. It's weird. So we're moving into a new realm, right? But this time right now, and you asked me about Semenyo, strikers, forwards, these guys are all like kind of interchangeable. Some of them are versatile, some of them aren't. I think 70 million for Semenyo is too much. But I'm only saying that because other players that have got a proven track record are available for similar money. If you can get a Xavi Simons for 60 million euros, which is 52 million pound, 52 million pound for Simons versus 70 million for Semenyo, I know where I'm going. 70 million pound, like we bid 65, we bid 60 plus 5 for Mbumo. Manchester United bid 55 plus 5 for Mbumo. Brentford wants 70. We're 5 million apart. Now, I know on the last show we had a little argument, a little debate there about things like the Jack Grealish scenario 15 years ago when, we all missed it for a biscuit by arguing like Daniel Levy fucked up by not paying this on Fernandes, not paying that on whatever. I wonder whether or not we're doing the same thing here, because if you're willing to pay 70 million for Semenyo and Mbumo has done what he's done that consistently in the Premier League, and there's only £5 million missing from the asking price to get Brentford to make the deal now, I think that we're being I think we're being super stupid. To think that Semenyo is worthwhile, especially when you bake in. Last thing I'll say, especially when you bake in the fact that Bournemouth have already been ransacked to the levels that they have. They've already lost Hoyson. They've already lost Kirkes. They're about to lose Zabani. They're about to lose Justin Kluivert to Leverkusen. If you are the fifth person in that queue, do you really think that Bournemouth are going to be able to, even if they get 300 million quid from those 5 sales, even if they do, they're not going to be able to replace that, because no one's coming to Bournemouth. Like you go and try and replace 5 players with 5 players, and you've got 300 million to spend. You're not going to be able to get 50, 60 million pound players going to Bournemouth because Bournemouth playing a 12,000 seater stadium, right? They're not at that level yet. Yeah. And so I think what's going to happen is Bournemouth are going to dial the number up the more that time goes on and the next domino falls. So for me, if we are sitting there, paralysis by analysis, not knowing whether to twist on Mbumo or to pay the Semenyo fee, just pay the Mbumo fee before Man United sell Onana or before Man United sell one of these other guys. Because as soon as they sell one of those players, that unlocks a hell of a lot of FFP wiggle room, and they can then go and get stuff done. And the only thing that we have on our side right now is that Manchester United are padlocked by their own financial constraints. The second that's not the case anymore, we will lose out to Mbumo. And then you're stuck dealing with Semenyo, who I think that by that point, the Bournemouth will dial the price up. He's not worth 70. Go and get bought. If you're willing to pay 70 for a fucking player, go and pay it for Mbumo.
You know what,
do you know? Sorry, Lubo, just really quickly. Just really quickly, Lubo. I just want to say, I'd love to know, guys, with the Mbumo situation, I would love to know whether or not he is considering us. I'd love to know if we have put in a bid. I'd love to know, is this I support Man United thing stronger than, hang on, I know Thomas Frank, I know what he's about, look what he's done for me and Tottenham in the Champions League? Because that would be the one, Lubo, wouldn't it? If we got Mbumo and Eze, that would be Levy for me saying that's game changing.
You asked, I delivered. Now shut up, everybody.
If you've got Mbumo, Maddison, Eze behind Solanke, suddenly we look a scary prospect going forward, don't we, Lubo?
Absolutely. You know, we've sat here and we've watched Chelsea go in and clean up on transfers for years.
Yeah.
Like with Neto last year, we're discussing terms with Wolves. Chelsea come in, blow us out the water, like they did with Juan Mata when we put in a bid for him in 2011 or whenever it was, and they just get the deal done. If you want a player, go and make it happen. Levy just messes about, just tries to get everybody on the cheap, and we have lost so many players because of that. So if he's serious this time, close that deal, go in. Get it done. Quit. Enough of the talking. Close the deal. Let's see some action. You can do it. If it's another 5 million, another 5 million. You know, you overpay. People overpay on houses. They overpay on cars. People do that. you know, if there's something you want and it's a little bit more than what you want to spend, most people look at it and say, do you know what? If I can financially do it, I'll stretch myself a bit more. Spurs can do it. So get it done. If it's 5 million, you're quite right, Sean. As soon as United sell one of those Hoylands or Garnacho or Rashford, you know, all bets are off then, because they'll have plenty of money then to spend, and they'll blow us out of the water, not only on fees, but on wages as well. So,
yeah,
I do wonder with Embuemo whether it's one of those that it's the agent is ramping up, you know, how much interest we've actually got in him to try and get United over the line. Because if
yeah,
you know, all of this in the no bollocks. I mean, Ornstein, to be fair, is pretty credible. He hasn't spoke about us being in for Embuemo, to my knowledge. He spoke
yeah,
about us being in for
yeah,
Semenyo. And
yeah.
so, you know, I don't know. I just think even that link with Semenyo sort of implies to me that either we're not in for Embuemo or we've been told quite clearly Embuemo's preference is United. And so there is a bit of me, which is, you know, fans will say, let's just pay the money. But sometimes players have other motivations for wanting to go somewhere. And if Embuemo really wants to go to United, I'd love him. But if he wants to go, we've just got to move on quick. That's the key point for me.
No, I completely agree with you. Just quickly, guys, let me just quickly do a couple of super chats before we go too far. John Lee, big up to you, John. Been very generous lately. Said, Savva, how about Paulinho for our club for 6th spot? Well, listen, we've just talked about Paulinho. As I said, be interesting to see. I don't think we will go for him because of his age. I'm not saying I wouldn't. I think there's nothing wrong with having a 20. I feel like we're talking like 28 and 29-year-olds now, and like they're nearly retiring from life. But I don't think it will happen, John. Huh?
Paulinho's 31, isn't he?
No, he's 29. Paulinho.
Is he?
Yeah, he's 29. Yeah, so I think you get him for 3 years, don't you? Give him a 2-3 year contract. But we'll see, John. Listen, thank you very much. We'll see, mate. I'd take him, but I don't think it will fit into the Spurs ethos. Big up to Emma Morton, who thinks she's funny. Said, evening donut, laugh out loud. Listen, I've been called a lot worse than a donut. And there's my front door. Hello, wife. Big up to Emma Morton. Thank you very much for that super chat. Big up to Paul French, who said, do we see, I'll ask this in a second, Paul, because you have become a channel member as well. For anyone that wants to become a member, I've seen people talking about it in the chat. It's pinned. I've put the link in and pinned it. It says membership at the end. So it's there for you to see. And happy birthday to Richard Hollis. He said, evening all. It's my birthday today, 68. Happy birthday to you, Richard. You're catching up on Lubo. So happy birthday to you. And I hope you've had a great day, my friend.
He's overtaken Lubo, let me tell you.
He's overtaken Lubo. I know, but I just like to have a go at you. So big up to you. Happy birthday, Richard. Let's start on. Let's have this conversation then, guys. Paul French has asked a question. He's put the money in. Do we see the third centre-back as Danso or Dragashin? And I'm guessing, guys, a lot of this, I'll just throw my own spin on this. A lot of this will be down to if Romero stays, does that change things? Dragashin is also injured, I believe, until October, November, December. There you go. Yeah. So, guys, what do we make of this comment from Paul?
I think they're two players of very similar abilities but different skill sets completely. And I think very, very difficult, very hard to judge somebody's true ceiling when you're playing in the chaos that was Angeball. So, you know, in a proper system that's coached, that's drilled, proper defensive setup, I think both of them could be very good. Both of them be very interesting to see who actually pushes their way forward to become, if Romero stays, you've got Romero and Van de Ven as your main two, or if he plays a 3, who the third player is going to be. You know, it could be somebody. I mean, both of them, Danso and Dragashin, are different in style to Romero and Van de Ven. So one isn't even a copy of the other. So it'd be interesting to see which way round Frank would play.
Yeah, I mean, for me right now, it's Danso probably. Just about, but as you are right, Lou, but I think with Dragashin, we're judging him on playing Ange ball and often playing in the team, you know, with Gray alongside him or Davis alongside him. Sure. And so I'm interested to see what he will be like under Frank when he's not having to play such a high line, for example, and when he is brought in, it's going to often be part of a 3, you would think. But based on what I've seen so far, I would edge towards Danso.
Do you think that's because he's been more recent in the team and memories are clearer? You know, he's listen. Danso's done well, but I think Dragerson is a low block defender, very strong in the air. And I don't, you know, the way Ange played didn't really suit either of them, to be fair.
No, and look, I mean, Dragerson had a good performance. You know, City away, I'll bring up as an example.
Oh God, yeah.
He had a very good performance in that game when we did play, as you said, a low block, and he was doing more traditional style defending. But for me, on sort of overall, I've been more impressed with Danso. I thought Danso did pretty well when he came into the team, considering again he was also coming into quite a turmoil. You know, and obviously, again, I agree with your point. I don't think he particularly suited Ange ball either, but a little bit better on the ball for me than Dragerson.
Yeah, I mean, literally, the only defender that suited Ange ball was Mickey because of the recovery runs and playing the high line. To be honest, what do you think, Sean? On Dan's
I think that Dragerson isn't. I think it's easy to sit there and judge Radu Dragerson thus far and say he's not good enough. At the end of the day, he wasn't he the young centre back of the year in Serie A the year that he came to us, right? So I think that it's a horses for courses thing. I think I'll give him a year, but obviously his injury is a problem. I'm not sure that I have any reason to think he's going to be exceptional. Apart from, I don't have any real sample size to judge him yet, and the fact that we were so desperate to get him, the fact that Bayern Munich rated him as much as they did, the fact that he cost a lot of money. Not that any of these things are necessarily reasons to like sort of give someone a free pass. I'm entirely honest. If you were judging everybody on a blind taste test, I would say he's not good enough. And there's other people I'm more interested in seeing. But the fact is that he was asked to play a system that didn't suit him. And I think you have to give people, he's a young guy. He's 21 years old. He's acclimating to a new league. There's a lot of variables here. And he's now got a brutal injury. I want to give him another chance. But he's going to have to impress me for me to give him any levity or leverage next summer when this discussion happens. But for right now, I want to keep him to see how he goes. But in terms of like, you know, I don't consider him part of the squad right now because he's going to be injured for a long time. He won't be in the Champions League team. As far as Danso goes, I think Danso was arguably the best bit of business we've done in maybe absent Bergvall in about 4 or 5 years at Tottenham. I think he's a brilliant value for money player. He's the sort of like if you go to a wedding, right, and you can find that they've got like house wine on tap, and it's relatively cheap for the people that are paying for the bill. Like I think that, but he gets it, but everyone can't tell the difference between that and a nice Chablis. I think that he's that guy that's cost you very little in the grand scheme of things, but just doesn't let you down. Everyone's getting tipsy on it. No one's moaning about the taste of petrol in the wine, and I think that for him, I really like Danso. I don't know what level he's got within him. I don't know if we're going to see him elevate himself to like, you know, a new level of status where people are going to be bidding 70, 80 million for him in a couple of years. I don't think that's going to happen. But in terms of like a stable participant in a squad that can do bits, I think he's a very useful, versatile, and incredibly solid, stable centre back. So nothing but love for him.
He's bloody good in the air as well, lads, isn't he? He's really good in the air, Dan. So apologies, so my wife just came home, so I was just saying hello. Welcome, Dan, as well. How you doing?
You all right?
Just see, Dan.
Apart from sweltering out here, apart from that, all cool.
Evening, Dan.
It's always like I always feel like Dan's just woken up. It doesn't matter what time of the day. As soon as he joins the stream, I'm like, he's just woken up and had a coffee. Or something a bit stronger, it would seem.
Hold up. Wait. Go back.
What was it?
What did you just do? Was that rosé? You just bottled from the
fucking rosé. Southern Comfort.
Listen, Dan, don't.
That's even
I
more.
like a drop of rosé.
That's even more
I'm not gonna lie.
astonishing. You just swigged a bottle of Southern Comfort. Is that mixture in there, or is that you just gone for Southern Comfort Dry?
No, I drink that straight. It's a drink. It's a drink I can handle. Like I said to you the other night,
Danny boy,
beer,
where were you last night, mate? You weren't drinking on my show last night when I was getting absolutely pissed as a fart. Where were you?
Because I was stoned. That's why I had to take my medication.
Love it, mate. Love it.
Hang on. So you were stoned. He was drunk. Brilliant. I'm gutted I missed the show.
I had 700 people watching, and about 400 of them were like, I said, "Go, guys, we'll wait for 5 minutes. Everyone go and get your Uber Eats. Go and get Tesco's to drop down some vodka or whatever." And everyone in the comments were like, "I'm already loaded, Sean. I've got a six-pack. I've got a six-pack. And I'm not talking about the six-pack from the gym. I'm talking about the six-pack from Tesco's." Everyone was getting drunk together. It was brilliant last night. It was good fun.
Guys, can I just say a lot to round off the centre-back situation? I do feel like we've really judged Dragoshin and Danso too soon. Not everyone on this panel, I just mean in general. Yeah. I feel for them because someone made a great point in the chat and said, how often do you actually get to see Dragoshin with Romero, for example, or Danso with Van der Ven? You know, we tend to see those guys in the high line when they're playing with each other rather than with the main starting centre back. So I do feel like we're all right at centre half, as long as I think if Romero goes, we'll need another one. But I do feel we're all right there. I think Dragoshin is a good centre back, but not in a high line. Like none of these boys other than Van der Ven should ever play in a high line. Is that fair, or am I overrating them there?
I'll agree on that way. It's whether we need a DM or not as well. It depends how we're going to play this system. Are we going to play it with 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 3-5-2, whatever way? Some people look on a 5-3-2, 3-5-2, whatever way you want to do it. Are we going to play with 3 central defenders? If we're playing with 3 central defenders, then a DM isn't such a necessity. But if we're going to play 4 at the back, then we need that DM now. And I think Danso has been extremely good since he got here. I don't think he's been special, but he's been very stable, very consistent, and he's strong in the air. I think he's got more of a physicality about him than Romero and Van der Ven. And I think he's just that one that he does the dirty work for you in the box, basically. And he's also seems to have the cool head to do it. And Dragusin as well, I think playing the right way, you will see a significantly better player there. I mean, he's definitely 10 times stronger in the air than bloody Van der Ven, which is his weakest point, which ain't good for a defender. Yeah. Romero isn't exactly great in the air either, bar a moment or two. Danso, good. Dragusin is solid in the air. That is probably his strongest point. Yeah. His weakest point is he's not very, I think the word, flexible. He can't just spin round and run back. He needs to do a whole horseshoe to turn round, basically. He's that man that you want to play like an old John Terry, sit him in the middle of a free, basically, and say, basically, you sit back and come back as sort of like no-nonsense centre-back, sweeper centre-back sort of thing, and you do the dirty work in the box. And I think you'll see a much better player out of him.
The only two occasions I can remember, and if anyone in the comments remember, if I've missed one in the last 10 months, the 2 occasions that we played 3 at the back were at Everton for the first half, where he played Dragusin with Davis and Gray. And that was disastrous. We were 3 down at half time. And the only other time, I think, was when he pulled Danso into the back 5, made it a back 5 to withstand the United onslaught in the last few minutes in Bilbao.
Frankfurt players did it as well. Yeah, he brought Danso on, didn't he?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. See, I don't think there's anything wrong with her. Like a Danso, I feel like now every centre-back we think needs to be Beckenbauer. We think every centre-back needs to be comfortable on the ball, bringing it out, spraying 70-yard passes. I think every squad needs a Danso Dragoshin type. A bloke that comes in, no nonsense, will put his head on anything and loves the fight. The problem is with the high line, you know, you're asking players who can't run quick to play in a high line, and then we're going, oh, look how easy they were exposed. Yeah, funny that. Listen, I want to move on away from centre backs, and just before we do, thank you for that, Paul. A good discussion point. And Fane has said, Mbeumo to United will be done after the 1st of July. I feel like a lot of things are going to happen in this transfer window from the 1st of July for many clubs, budgets and all that kind of stuff. So I don't doubt this. I do think he will be joining Man United. As much as I'd love us to hijack that deal, I don't see that we will. But thank you very much, Fane. Really appreciate that. Guys, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about this obsession that we seem to have at this football club of wingers. We really do seem every window, it's like wingers, wingers, wingers. Why can't we get this right? Why have we had so many wingers in this last 5, 6, 7, 10 years? Constantly signing wingers. Why?
But what winger have we actually signed? I think the closest we've actually signed to a winger is actually Solomon.
Oh,
we keep
Lubo's,
buying
mate.
inside full. We keep buying inside forwards, basically. I mean, said it enough times. Son is not a winger, never has been, never was. He only became more of a player when he showed inside forward because he can't cross consistently or pass. Johnson, is that a winger? No, it isn't. Come love nor money. I mean, what is it they say? The quickest, slowest player I've ever seen, or slowest, quicker player, whatever way you want to put it. And then you look at who else we've got out there. Odebert, does he look like he's got what a winger needs? No, he doesn't. He can take his man on, maybe, but he can't cross or bloody pass. Tell, definitely not. Kulusevski, no, not a chance. So out of all these wingers that we've bought, how many of them are actually even wingers? I think Solomon is about the only one you can say that you could probably label him as a winger. And then the next best thing we got is the only one who can cross the ball, and that's Porro.
Does everyone agree with that? Is it the case that we're signing wingers that aren't actually wingers, or is it just that we keep getting this wrong?
No, it's a fair
I think it's not. Sorry, go on, Lubo.
Go on.
No, I was just going to say. I think to be fair, wingers were probably more important for Ange's system, right? Where you had, we needed proper 1v1 wingers, and to Dan's point, we had a load of inside forwards we were asking to play as touchline wingers, and it didn't quite work. Hopefully, in Frank's system, he does play that more inside forward style system, so they should on paper be better fits. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So they should on paper be better fits.
and Buemos, Vissers, those types of...
But on that point, Brennan Johnson is 100% an inside forward, not a winger. 100%. Matisse Tell is 100% an inside forward, not a winger. So you might see that there's an improvement in the valuation of those players that we currently don't like, because they suddenly become a horse for the right course.
The other thing is as well, with from what I've seen with Frank over a few years, I mean, I've seen him use about 5 different formations. And in every single one I've ever seen Brentford play, they seem to like to be able to cross that ball in there with multiple decisions, i.e. whether it's a long ball, whether it's a short ball, whether it's a direct ball across the floor, whether they just drill it across the floor, float the ball in there. They're at least one of their wingers always likes to consistently be able to cross that ball in from different angles and different styles. He doesn't just do an Ange basically, and that's do a sweaty FIFA where you get up to the bottom line basically and drill it across the goal to have a Johnson sitting at the back and tap it in. I mean, that's what they used to call sweaty on FIFA basically. And that is what we did. And I haven't seen Brentford really play like that. They've always had some sort of stability on the left or the right of someone who can consistently cross a ball in there with different styles of crossing that ball.
Yeah, I don't know.
Solomon is older. Solomon is a more, if you talk about established, I mean, he's an international. He's played with Donetsk as well. So I call Solomon established. You know, we went through a list a few weeks ago, which obviously now is out of date with Werner going back. We were saying, you're right, Son and Johnson for me inside forwards, Solomon a winger, Yang is a kid, Odeber's young, Tell's young, Kulu's a 10, Moore's a 10, Donald is a 10, Gil I'm sure is going to stay in Spain. And that's it. That is it. So we don't really have wingers, do we?
No. We really don't.
It's going to be interesting as well because Mbeumo last season, I don't know if any of you guys saw this stat. He had the most crosses in the Premier League. Don't know if anyone managed to see that. And that's a far cry from how Brennan Johnson plays, for example. Mm-hmm. So does anyone think that Frank would be able to do to Johnson what he's done with Mbeumo? Because for me, I don't think you can coach the physicality. Like Mbeumo's not the tallest guy, but he's a beast, isn't he? He's a powerful man. So is Semenyo. I look at Brennan Johnson. I just think if you just go, he's going to fall over. So can he get the best out of him doing that? I would say he would be able to because he's still young. But could Johnson do that?
What's key there, Sav, is that if you've got a wingers, single plural, then Solanke's going to benefit big time. You're going to get a bigger outputs out of Solanke. The way he got it from Clivert and Semenyo at Bournemouth, and he hasn't had that same service last season at Spurs.
I don't even want to give Solomon that chance, to tell the truth. I want us to go out there and buy an established winger if that is what we're going to use. I'm sorry, I'm not putting up with this crap that we go and bring in some discharged player that we got rid of for the Championship to then have a respectable season in the Championship to then come back when we're meant to be taking the next step further. It's all right, Solomon to do the job. Just no.
This is one of those ones, Dan, where Lubo loves to die on a hill for certain things. Gray is one. Solomon is definitely the other one that he will die on that Solomon hill.
No, what I said about Solomon was that I'd like to see Frank look at him in pre-season, make his mind up. If he's good enough, brilliant, you keep him. But you don't just keep him, Dan, because you need more than one. You should have 2 or 3. And if he's no good, then you sell him. But give him the opportunity, because we only saw a very small window of Solomon in the first team before he got injured. And then he went out. So let's see. I'm not saying he's good enough, but what I'm saying is he's on the books. He is a winger. We don't have any other proper wingers. Let's have a look at him pre-season and let's see if he's good enough. If he fits Frank's system and Frank thinks he's good enough, then he'll keep him. And if he doesn't, he'll bin him. Simple as that.
But Sean, wouldn't you just rather...
Sorry, God, Dan. I was just going to say, Sean, I know you are not... I'll go to Connor afterwards. You're not entertaining the Solomon... Even bringing him in, having a look at him for a few weeks of pre-season, you're not entertaining it, are you, Sean?
No, I just think that I don't know what you're going to gather from pre-season. I think it's a glorified fitness test. I don't think we've ever learned anything from pre-season. It's an experiment of strategies, maybe, but like if you're sitting there thinking that you can learn more from watching a fitness test match in 40-degree heat or the pissing downpouring rain against Bayern Munich or Newcastle in a pre-season friendly that you couldn't gather from the Championship, then it's ridiculous. And I think the other consideration is that the more time that goes on, the higher the likelihood is that these players are going to not go to their obvious preferred destination because those people are going to move on with their targets. So, in life and in football, in every walk of life, in business, there's the early bird catches the worm. That's one side of the narrative. Or you've got patience as a virtue. I don't know where checking out pre-season comes in. I don't know what you can learn from pre-season about Manor Solomon. For me, I just think that Manor Solomon, he's a good player, but he is Championship level. He has proven that he is good enough to be a good player in a team that at the Championship level that happens to be dominant in the league. So to the point where they won the league, and therefore the forwards in that system were the beneficiary of playing against weaker opposition, and he scored 20 GA. Congratulations. But the only time he did it in a Tottenham shirt in the Premier League was against a Championship level team Burnley. He got 2 assists in that season and he got injured. I'm sorry about the injuries. I know that it might be harsh on him, but I'll be entirely honest. I think a lot of the people that want him to come back, I think that they have political motivations as well. I think they lean that way because of the slice of the fan base that happens to...
And that was why they half got him out of the club double quick as well, wasn't it, for what he said? That was part of the reason as well.
It's political. There's political parts of the story. My motivation...
I couldn't care about his political side. As long as he plays football properly, I couldn't give a toss what he believes in, what his religion is and that. But I don't think he's good enough.
I don't think he's good enough either. I don't want him at the club, but not because of anything to do with political things. I just don't think he's good enough for us. But I do think that those people that do want to see him I think that some of them have political motivations behind their narrative.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
mean,
Nothing would surprise me
Solomon.
these days. Just last thing
Yeah,
I'll put on Solomon, yeah? If we're going to accept and sit here and start saying, well, get Solomon in, give him a go and everything else and that, then people need to shut up about Daniel Levy not going for established big players again. Because people are now just making it right that we bring in the second-hand player that obviously wasn't working for us, has played in the championship again and whatever, and just really ain't good enough, but you want to give him another chance. So what do? Do we make him the next Lo Celso and Dembele or whatever and that, yeah? So the next manager will do it with it. Okay, maybe the next one will do it with it, and then 6 years down the line, he's still sitting there. No, cut your losses, get rid of him. Same with a couple of other players.
And it's not even a loss, mate.
Either way, whether you want to, it's a figure of speech.
No, I hear you.
For me, with Solomon,
let him go and go get an established player in there.
Yeah, I mean, for me with Solomon, I think it's look, if he was a left back cover and equivalent level of talent, you might go, yeah, we might as well keep him, right? But the forward position is so critical for us to recruit right now, given we've got so many players that can play inside forward or winger or whatever you want to call them. And it's one player where you can go and we know we're going to get 15 million for him. And that's money that can be reinvested in someone that's actually going to make difference to the starting 11. You know, he is never going to be a starting 11 player. You've already got Tell, who plays out on the left, who we're unsure on whether he's going to quite cut the mustard or not. So, you know, I think Solomon's got to go. He's too far down in the pecking order anyway. Sell him 100%. Now whilst you can and use that money to reinvest.
And it also depends.
The only people that I hear, I mean this, I don't care if I'm sorry, Savva, to say this on your channel, if you'll forgive me here. The only people that I hear that are suggesting that he is worth a shout, they miss the hypocrisy in their own narrative when they say that we should bring him back. We should have given Mikey more minutes last year. We should be keeping Sonny, and we also need Mbeumo, and we need Eze when we already have 11 strikers, 11 forwards, 11 wingers. And at the same time, those people generally, if I'm entirely honest, I think they're saying it because the sensitivity of which they feel about the political situation, they think that some of the vitriol towards Solomon is based. I'm sure it is in some parts. For me, it isn't. There's no vitriol for me. I just don't think he's good enough. But I think a lot of people that want him back is based on the fact that they believe that people that want him gone is a political motivation. And I think it's a double-edged sword. I just personally don't think he is good enough. He hasn't proven that he's good enough at anything above the championship level. And it's fine to make the argument that he's been injured, so he hasn't had the chance to. I hear you, but if you at the same time you want to see Tottenham sign an Eze and an Mbeumo and or a Semenyo, where the fuck do these people fit into a squad when you already have 11 players? And a lot of those people also want Sonny to stay. It doesn't make any sense. At some point, you have to say, you need to strip this number down to 6. We have 11. You want a 12th to come back. You want us to sign a 13th and a 14th. And I say, where do the people go? And then you're going, well, okay, well, Mikey Moore can go out on loan. Well, last year you were bemoaning the fact that Mikey Moore wasn't given the minutes. So square the fucking circle for me. It doesn't make any fucking sense. All I ask for is logic. And when I hear people say this shit about our wingers, there is absolutely no logic. And the only time that logic leaves the room is when politics dictate the energy.
It is a fair point because we want to improve, and if an ideal time for Son to leave, it is now. We have just won a cup. He's obviously on the way down as a player. He can still leave now with pride on his back as such, and not as much mud on there. Whereas if he stays and then goes downhill for another season and that, he's just going to get labelled on the back of, yeah, Son was great for us, he did this, but we should have got rid of him 2 years earlier, like we've said with about 10 other players we've had. And with what you're saying as well, is it a political war in the background or religious war, whatever you want to call it, in the background with some of the fans? Yeah, wouldn't surprise me because he said something that some fans are going to like politically and some fans ain't, so they're going to back him even more on the political side than the actual football side. That's just people in general. They do that.
It's human nature.
Football is political these days.
I'm going to bring it back.
Savage only played 7 games for Spurs. I mean, you know, we're talking about not judging players because they played in Angie's system. People are saying, I mean, Sean, you backed Tell. Tell's played in 20 games. Now, Tell's done nothing in 20 games to warrant a 35
I disagree with that statement. Tell's done a lot in 20 games. You just choose to not see it. I see it.
Did he do any more than Solomon? Not for me.
100% he did. 100%, mate.
Not for me.
It's a higher ceiling, isn't it?
Manor Solomon did nothing.
No.
Manor Solomon got 2 games and a 5-1 victory, 2 assists and a 5-1 victory against Burnley, who happened to be championship level. They came up with company. They went down with company. Like he's a champion. He's an outperformer at championship level teams or against championship level teams. He hasn't done anything anytime. Even when he played against, he got those 3 goals in 5 games for Fulham. He did that against 2 of the teams that got sent down, as far as I'm aware.
Is Solomon good enough to play for us in the Champions League and give us a stable place in the Champions League?
Do you think he is good enough, Lubo?
No.
Then you can't be sitting there bemoaning Brennan Johnson. You can't be sitting there bemoaning everyone else in our team. Like, where the circle,
I don't know. The answer is I don't know, and I'd like to.
You have an opinion on Brennan Johnson. You have an opinion on Decky. You have an opinion on Matisse Tell. You have an opinion on Matisse Tell, though, right?
Well, I saw him over 20 games. I mean,
but you were happy. But you were happy to sign Matisse Tell.
Was I happy about signing Matisse Tell?
No, you were happy. Savva, didn't we have an argument about this yesterday?
I don't think he was the right player to buy today because of players we need in where the positions are more important. Should be priority.
Is this accurate, mate? Did we not speak about this for like 2 hours?
I'm trying to stay out of this. I'm trying to stay out of this as much as I can.
Can anyone honestly tell me?
Did you not chastise Lubo for 2 hours yesterday about the fact that he continually criticises our owner, yet he continually backs every sign we made, including Matisse Tell?
No, I didn't back Tell. I've never backed Tell. You guys, Savva and Dan, I've never backed buy and Tell. I have said that he could be very good in 2 years' time, but I don't think he's right for what we need now.
But exactly, same as Archie Gray bloody wasn't. Same as other players weren't. Same as getting Tell in wasn't. It's part of the story. Same as Tell wasn't what we needed halfway through that season. We needed a 32-year-old player in there, or 30-year-old player who was established, been there, done it, got the bloody storybook, and could add something to the team. Not another little kid that has got barely any bloody experience. And with Solomon, are you telling me you are going to quite happily go into that Champions League? If you had to make this decision now, right, we're going into the Champions League, pick the Champions League team. Right, in my 11, I'm definitely starting Solomon up against Bayern Munich. Really?
Ian, I 100%, when I said that about the political motivations, I 100% include you in that. I think that part of the reason why you are such a you have so much vociferous defense of Manor Solomon is because of the persuasion regarding Manor Solomon.
I don't think it has anything to do with that. I don't care what religion people are, as long as they do their stuff when they cross the.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
No, but I've cancelled that with that comment. It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference. If he was Egyptian, I'd say the same thing.
The people that I've met that are massive backers of Manor Solomon, that go out of their way to say he should be coming back, when they are also people that say we need so much better in the wings, that are also the people that say don't sell Sonny and all that stuff. And I'm saying, well, how do we find the fucking room? And they're the same people that said that Mikey Moore should have got minutes last year. When I challenged them on the narrative, and they figure out a way to say now Mikey Moore should go out on loan to West Brom, but last year they were saying that Mikey Moore should have been getting minutes ahead of X, Y, and Z. Most of those people, I'm entirely honest, most of those people are Jewish guys.
I mean, look, let me defend you here, Ian. Yeah,
that's a bit true.
I don't think.
I'm not trying to create a narrative. I'm just saying that's just my experience.
I don't think Ian's that narrow-minded, yeah. And I'll be straight as Ian. Ian, I'll be straight as you. When it comes to players like Archie Gray and stuff like that, you're about as narrow-minded as a person can actually come. But in general, as a supporter with players and that, I don't think you'd be that narrow-minded that you'd want to play at a stake because of his fucking religion. Or because of his political whereas if he was 19 and you foresee a future in him, you can be quite focused, I think is the way to put it. But I'm actually sticking up for you here.
Just quickly, first and foremost, the likes are absolutely dreadful, guys. We're talking about conversion rates of wingers and strikers. 234 likes. There's 715 of you in here. Come on, guys. Like it's not even a third. Come on, let's do that. Please subscribe to Danny as well. Please subscribe to the Hotspur Hood. Please subscribe to Spurs Talk Show and follow Connor and Lubo on X. That place, but they love it. So please subscribe to them. Just to say to back up Lubo, I'll tell you, Archie Gray's played blinders in the last 2 England games that he's not been picked for, as he's getting Tyler Morton, Hayden Hackney, and all these championship footballers that are getting picked above him. Hashtag just saying, Lubo. But let's go away from the political standpoint of Solomon. For me, what I don't get is let's have a look at him in the first month of pre-season, so to speak. For me, surely that's not good for anyone. You want to get that business done, don't you? You want to get him out the door. And if we're going to give anyone a go, I'm not doing a 180 here, by the way, but you've just signed Tell. Surely that's the guy you're going to coach and develop into that position, isn't it? You just
got to move on, haven't you? Yeah, I think you got to move on. I think look, Solomon is never going to be good enough to be a needle mover, is he? So let's be honest. And we've got enough, as I said before, we've got enough depth in that position to have those sort of average squad fillers. We need needle movers, and he is one that can move to give you the money to invest. And we know, and look, he's pure profit as well. You know, we bought him for nothing. He's 15 million. Hopefully, if he goes to Leeds, of pure profit. Mm-hmm. Same with Son. I mean, I would move Son on now. We know. I think we can't move him until August because of or later in July or whatever it was, because of the gaming career. But he's another one who's got to go now, and we've got to move on.
Yeah, I think there's many that's got to go. Listen, I don't know about you guys. I want to be ruthless, and what I'm going to say here might annoy people. I want to be absolutely ruthless now as a football club. I want to see Mikey Moore out on loan. I don't want him anywhere near the first team for this year. Get him out on loan. Let him play. Gray. Get him out on loan. Let him play. Yeah, Yang. Send him back to QPR. Give him one more year out there. I don't want to do this whole let's keep loads and loads of players because we think they all might come good. This is Champions League now. We haven't got the Europa League to fall back on, lads. You know, we might be lucky. In the 8 teams we get, we might be lucky. We might get some easier teams. But realistically, you're probably going to say you're going to get some top teams in there as well. Does anyone disagree with me on that? Or am I heartless?
I mean, spin it the other way. Lubo, would you want us to go and sign Solomon for 15 million? If we could.
For what, now?
Now, yeah. Let's say he wasn't at Spurs and he had that season in Leeds.
If he wasn't at Spurs, but to give context to my way of thinking is that, number one, there are more important areas that need prioritising. Right? You can't go and buy and sell 15, 16 players in one window.
But we haven't got no one who can cross a ball, Ian, except Hollow.
So he may be one of those few that can cross a ball.
He can cross the ball better than Tell in that. I agree with that. Yeah. Better than Tell, Son and whatever. He can cross the ball better.
That's right. So for me, I'm not saying we keep him, we sign him, give him an extended contract. What I'm saying is he's on the books. He's back at the club. Let Frank have a look at him. Every manager looks at players in a different way, manager to manager. He may see something in him. He may not see anything in him. If he doesn't rate him, then Frank should sell him. If he likes him and he thinks he can add to the squad, I don't see him as a first 11 player. I see him as a squad player. You know, we've looked at it. We've all said on the shows in the last few weeks that our front line is probably one of the poorest in the Champions League. So it needs an upgrade. You've got someone here who's had a very good season, albeit at a lower level. Have a look at him. That's all I'm saying. If he's good enough, Frank will keep him. If he doesn't think he's good enough, he'll sell him. Simple as that. But you know,
could have the last laugh here.
Look at him. Why not have a look?
When we get to the first game of the season and Solomon is our left-sided forward, bangs in a hat-trick against someone like Man City, we'll all come back on and say sorry to Lubo. But we've got a lot
say sorry to Lubo ever.
What was it, Ian? What did it say? Insert. What did that guy say Ian stood for? Insert something and then never admit you're wrong.
No, listen, I don't mind. I don't mind saying if I'm wrong on a player, I'll be more than happy to say I'm wrong on a player.
But you haven't said it yet about Archie Gray, mate. I asked you this last night.
Well, I've always said that I think within 2 years, Gray will be there. He'll be established, and you'll be seeing what a good player he is.
Yeah, but Savva, when Savva was referencing Matisse Tell, a player that you just acknowledged in the early part of the show, that you, hang on. Hang on. Let me finish my sentence. Savva is always someone that says, "I didn't want Matisse Tell. I'm not saying that he won't be world class in 2 years' time. Is what do we need now?" So. And you agree with him on Matisse Tell. So on the same rationale, is Archie Gray what we need now? And if not, admit you were wrong. I did, because I was on your side about this. I was on your side. I was wrong about Archie Gray. He
wasn't what we needed for the first 11 at the time we bought him. But I believe he was bought for the future. So for me, if you've got a good kid, you don't wait for someone else to snap him up.
We should be able to do both, shouldn't we?
You just pay for it.
Yeah, but we don't.
Exactly.
But the fee that my problem is, Connor, with this, and obviously listen, Archie Gray seems to be, I've never known a footballer talked about as much as Archie Gray. It's absolutely brilliant, right? It's so funny, right?
One way or another, he always worms his way into it.
It's you, Dan, normally you bring it up.
Because it's usually part of the point I'm making. He's part of the block as such.
The thing is, for me, mate, is when I look at, you see like Brighton good at it, Brentford are good at it. They bring in these players for 10, 15 million pounds. No one really bats an eyelid. We've done it in the past. You bring in a kid, 10 million, send them out on loan. Don't really talk too much about them. Archie Gray, though, I think that the price tag was so big for a guy that had played half a season in centre mid and then half a season at right back. Lubo went in. Oh my God, Lubo, boom, Neil Armstrong, the flag's in, first person on the moon, first Archie Gray fan member. What do you make of him, mate? And is the price tag where a lot of fans have the problem, i.e. for that 35, 40 million, think of the centre mid you could have bought instead of Archie Gray?
Yeah, look, I think on my view on Gray is, I think you're right. I think the price tag was high for what he was, particularly, and I think that's exacerbated by the fact that people look at Bergvall, who was 8 million,
right,
and make comparisons. And obviously, Bergvall's been outstanding. And I think in terms of wages, I mean, we were just chatting on Sean's channel about wages, but Archie Gray is one, if you believe what's on Capology or whatever, it was on about 75 grand a week. Yeah. Which is meaningful, right? And Bergvall was only on 15 grand a week or whatever. So it was a very, very sizable investment. I mean, look, to defend Lubo though, we can't have it both ways. That when we're now linked with players like Eze and Walton, we go, oh, why didn't we sign them when they were in the Championship? And then suddenly when we sign what is one of the Championship's hottest talents, we then also complain because it takes up the space. But you need to have that balance.
But was he, Connor? Was it? Here's my question to you.
He had one good game. One solid game.
Because I'll be honest, when I speak to Leeds fans, there are a lot of Leeds fans who are like, "Oh, this kid's breathtaking," and a lot of other fans saying, oh, "You're going to be disappointed." And I'll be honest, listen, I don't expect anyone. I didn't like Ange, and I don't know if you ever seen my show before, Connor. I wasn't a fan of Ange at all, and I'm not expecting anybody to look brilliant under Ange. What I am expecting though is the basics, like. He doesn't look a footballer to me. He doesn't look like he's comfortable. And yes, he's young, but these youngsters have still played football every day of their life since they're about 2. Like, I don't see a thing in him that other people do, Connor. So was he one of the hottest prospects in the Championship?
Well, I think amongst the circles of, the in the know tacticos and all of that, he was meant to be, wasn't he? I mean, and... obviously Brentford were linked with him, so it'll be interesting to see what Frank does with him. And obviously Brentford are well respected in terms of being able to identify talent, so that's a fairly good sign. But look, I do think the investment was too much at the time of what we needed. the investment was too much. We'll have to see. He is still, 18? So, players do develop in different ways. But he looks, I can't defend how he looks right now, because right now he looks miles off of Bergvall. His best position, to be honest, has probably been when he's played centre back, because he's been.
So why does
that
Lubo rate him so high? Why does Lubo and this army of people?
I do think he's technically good on the ball. I do think he's technically
I
good
think
on the
he's
ball.
rubbish on the ball. I think he's awful on the ball.
But I think it's more about getting up to speed physically.
Look, you go spend 40 million on a player, whether he's a kid or not. You've spent 40 million on it, right? Okay, that's going to be a bit harder for an 18-year-old to take in. I get that, experience, whatever else, but if you can't handle that shit, you're in the wrong job. And to bring him in as a centre midfield, which he's meant to be, he's what? Either 6th or 7th on our picking order. And then even as a right back, where any manager with any actual common sense would have been playing Spence there instead of Gray, I would have thought. And then centre back, he was basically put there because there was just nothing else to throw there, because the manager screwed it up again. He wouldn't have even seen game time last season if there wasn't so many injuries. He'd have seen maybe 1 in a cup, maybe 2 in a league, and a couple in the early stages of the Europa Cup. And we just went and put 40 million up the wall for that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, Bergvall.
I get about looking ahead for the future. I get when you're in that stage. I mean, for me, a lot of people, again, it's opinions. A lot of people say you build your team up with youth, this, and this. Whatever. No, I do it the other way round. I'd build my team up with age, experience, and then start bringing the youth in on top of it. Whereas in Spurs, and I find a lot of supporters, each their own, whatever turns you on at the end of the day, want to build it up from the youth and then maybe add a good player to it and that. Well, the thing is, you go and do it that way, they're never really going to do much as such. And as soon as one of them starts getting established, someone else is just going to come in and pick him out. So you need to already have a respectable, established team in there to start bringing in the youth players. That's just how I see it. It might be wrong for others. It's each their own. And for me, the 40 million for him and everything, it just, none of it made any sense whatsoever. Yeah, we should be doing both, but with Spurs, we don't. So it's one or the other.
Can I ask you then, Sean, let me ask you, isn't the concern that this boy isn't getting played at centre mid for anybody? Like Leeds didn't for 6 months, Spurs haven't for a year, and this boy can't get in the England under 21. He's not one of the first choice 4 central midfielders. You've got Alex Scott playing in there, Morton's playing in there, Hayden Hackney's playing in there. Like, isn't that the worry, Sean, that we've signed this kid for big money? Yeah. And at no level can he get a game as a midfielder, but I'm told he's going to be a number 6. I don't see it.
He's not going to be a number 6. He doesn't. For me, he's not. He's too lightweight. He hasn't spent the last year in the gym like Bergvall did. He hasn't got that tenacity, that bite where you want to take on play. Like, you can. Lucas Bergvall, I know he's 6'2" and he's put on some weight, right? But against Joe Linton in Newcastle, who's bodied, against Liverpool, it's Sobersley and McAllister, those sorts of guys. Like, there's just levels to the strength game and the size game. When Archie Gray got given those moments, he looked like men against boys. For me, I think that we have massively. I said it when we signed him. There's one of my more popular videos on my channel. I was watching it the other day, just before we signed him last summer. And I said, I love the player. I think he's really good. I think he's going to be a cracking talent. But we have massively overpaid 35 million quid. It's outrageously punchy, and so I feel like I'm right and I'm wrong. In as much as I was right about the overpayment, in terms of whether he's going to be a cracking player. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But the fact that Hayden Hackney is a championship level midfielder and can get into the England under 21 team ahead of him, that tells its own tale, right?
And Tyler Morton. Tyler Morton
as well, right? And so I think that this might go down as a giant fucking mistake. To be honest, he might turn out to be a good player. He might turn out to be a very good player, whatever. But he, at this stage, has absolutely shown nothing that convinces me that he is anything other than a versatile, talented kid, but doesn't have a specific player, a specific position, because he isn't commanding or dominant in any particular place. And you know what? That a lot of players get shifted around in their youth, and those that end up being fullbacks, it's because they're not good enough. They're talented, but they're not necessarily good enough as in more crucial positions. I think that I'm not sort of writing him off by any stretch, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that I think that I was wrong when I said that he was a good signing for Tottenham. I was right when I said we massively overpaid for him, and I think it will go down as a massive flop. I don't think he's going to cut it at this level. Not yet. Maybe he might go away for a couple of years, but from what I've seen, it's not about. It's just about his. Like, why hasn't he got in the gym for the last year? Lucas Bergvall rocked up at he was 6'1". He's now 6'2". He's put on like a stone and a half. He's bodied up because he got under the wing of Decky and they spent 2 hours a day in the gym after training, before training, and he took it seriously. Archie Gray is he could get blown over by a strong gust of wind, and he doesn't have the Modric. He doesn't have that sort of side to him where he can kind of brush off of challenges. As a midfielder, you've got to get stuck in, and you're just going to get walked through by physical men at this level. And so, unfortunately for me, I've landed right now. I'm happy to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong about it. But right now, I think he will prove to be a costly mistake from Tottenham Hotspur.
You see, on a wing, you can get away with not necessarily being built as such, yeah? If you've got the pace and you're good enough on the ball, you can take it round your man and run. If you're playing in centre mid, you got to have something on you. Especially seeing as he was meant to be our DM, from what a lot of people said. And like you say, the question is more like the bigger build out of him and Johnson is probably more who's got more hair on their face, because they both look like they're under 14.
Yeah, I want to see him. Like, have any of us seen him crunch, even at centre back? Have we seen him crunch a guy? Have we seen him get in the face of someone? Have we seen any demonstration that he has a little bit of that, like, nastiness inside of him? I don't think we have.
He's just a nice boy, isn't he?
He's a nice boy. He's a nice boy, and I think that
you want your daughter to bring him home. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, that's it, Connor. Yeah, you want exactly that. That's it, and that's not the guy. That's not the guy that I want in my monster position. If I want a meek 6, he might be the guy. I want a monster 6 that represents the devil. He ain't the guy.
See, I just want to do a quick welfare check on Lubo, because I know that a lot of these words about Gray have probably hit him really deep and hard in those last 5 minutes. But Lubo, the one thing that I always say to you, and by the way, guys, we will end the show at 1:30. I'm not going crazy tonight. We'll end the show in 10 minutes, and we'll be back tomorrow night for the Spurs review. But please smash the like button, and big up as well to Paul Watkins, who put in a super sticker. Thank you very much. He's threatened to not put any more in if I say too much more about Gray. So I have to say nice things about Gray. Big up to you, Paul. Really appreciate that. And then another Paul French said, we spent on Gray because we moaned he didn't on others. It just seems strange to me. Danny and I did a show last year where we were looking at Kefram Turam, Manu Kone, Yusuf Fofana. All of them went for less money and similar wages. And they were all 22, 23 with experience in top leagues behind them. And it was like, why aren't we going for them? But yeah, listen, big up to you, Paul. Thanks for that. And then a really very generous super chat that's just dropped in. Thank you very much, Jordan. Really appreciate that. As I said, we need to look at a club like Newcastle and how they have got to where they are now, in my opinion. Instead of stockpiling potential, who is our Tonali, who bosses a midfield consistently? They also have good, solid wingers. Jordan, do you know what? I'm not saying this because you spent massive money to put this in. Absolutely. I want to stop. I want to stop with this could be good sentence. Ceiling could be good. Potential coach. I want a Tonali. Tonali, by the way, who is mad underrated. He's a top footballer. Where's our Tonali? Why aren't we going out to a team
midfield at Newcastle? That whole midfield at Newcastle is nasty, isn't it? Bruno Guimaraes.
What did I say on the last show, Connor? Men. All three of them are men, aren't they? You looking at Guimaraes, he's got that nasty bite in him, but can also play. Joe Linton's a beast of a man. Tonali, built, really well built, strong, can play, can tackle, can shoot. Then I look at ours and I just go, Gray, Bentancur, Sarr. It's just all a bit. It's like we go for lightweight players. But Jordan, big up to you. Really, really, really appreciate that. Lubo, I just want to know. I just want to know what is it that you think that with Gray that you think that's why we went for that youngster? Why didn't we go for Hayden Hackney, who I watch and I think, yeah, you're a player. I watch Hayden Hackney and think, yeah, I like you. You've got a bit about you. I've never once watched Gray and gone, oh, I like that. What is it that you've seen, Lupo, that you liked? Is it the Chelsea game?
Well, that was the start. I follow obviously Spurs and Premier League football closely. Orient's my second team, and I follow League One. So when Gray joined, and I think the fee was fixed because Brentford went in for Gray at 40 million. Is that correct, Connor? I think, and Spurs wanted him, so Spurs were forced to pay 40 million. So when people say, oh, it cost us 40 million, that's the club's choice. To me, I don't know why fans are so bothered about what a club pay for a player. I think it's about whether the player's right or not. The money is irrelevant. Dele Alli cost 5 million. If you were buying, say, a Harry Kane and you spent 85 million, you wouldn't be worried about the fact you've spent that much money on a top player. So for me, it's not about the money. It's about whether the player's right or not, which is what I was saying on your show before, Sean, as part of my 7-point manifesto.
But it is about
7 points of subjectivity. 7 points of subjectivity. Yeah.
So when I come on to Gray, I've got a few friends who are Leeds fans. I asked them all about them, and they were all gutted that he'd gone. Or every single one was gutted that they'd gone. They thought he was going to be a top player. They thought, this is typical. We're a smaller club. We get a great kid, and a bigger club comes in and takes it off us. Now Ange, I don't think he progressed the way he should have progressed because of the manager and the coaching and the style. The system, I think, was just dreadful. I don't think Ange has done him any favours at all. What I did like about him last season, I think I said this to you with you two guys yesterday, was that in midfield he got killed, playing against Villa and Liverpool, got absolutely killed. I would have been bringing Gray in, integrating him slowly, giving him 15, 20 minutes against an Ipswich, a Southampton, a Qarabag, a Ferencváros, an Alkmaar, one of those teams, not against McGinn and Tielemans and Szoboszlai, Gravenberch and McAllister. I thought that was quite cruel for Ange to do that. It was absolutely nonsense.
Why? But again, Lubo, this is what I don't get, right? Listen, if you are bought by Tottenham Hotspur for money, and when you're saying the money doesn't matter, why do fans care? Well, I care because that 35, 40 million stopped us bringing in an actual midfielder that was ready to go.
It didn't because the money was there to buy Gallagher, and he wanted Gallagher the whole summer. So Levy made the money available, and in the end, he didn't get Gallagher, and he spent the money on Solanke. So the money was there, Sav, to buy another midfield player. It wasn't Gray stops another one coming in. It was Gray was bought early because Brentford were in early, and that forced Spurs' hand. Ange was after Gallagher the whole time.
No, I understand that, but I get that. But the thing is, when you're saying, oh, it was unfair because he played against Villa's midfield, Liverpool's midfield, I hate to break it to you, but there's 19 other teams other than us in the Premier League. If we're saying that he's not ready to play against these teams, he shouldn't be in the Tottenham first team squad. If you're gonna spend 35, 40 million pounds on a young player, for me, their age goes out the window at this stage. At this stage now, I'm going, okay, well, why have we spent that money on them? If you bring in Gray for 10 million pounds and you loan him out for a couple of years and he's out of sight, out of mind, fine. But we didn't. We spent 35, 40 million, whichever way you want to look at it. He's come in and then it was really unfair for him to play against Villa's midfield. Well, okay, so what we're saying, we put in a player that can only play against the Southamptons and the Ipswiches. I don't understand.
I'll complete my answer because he didn't only just play in midfield. He played at the back as well, across the back four. And I think for an 18-year-old kid coming into absolute chaos, without Romero and Van der Ven there, because they weren't available when Gray was playing in the back four, and you got Dragerson, you got Davis playing with them. To me, I think he did. I think he was fine. I think he was versatile. He was a good utility player. I think he handled himself very well when he got a when he got beaten a few times by wingers. Second half, you never saw that happen. He got his game together, he sorted it out, and he came back stronger. And I think that's great. I mean, I spoke, Ardiles turned around and said Gray will make it. He's got great character and great ability. Spence said it, and Jermaine Defoe said it. Now, if those three are far more knowledgeable about football than I am, and if those three think Gray can do it, I think maybe I'm on the right track.
Okay,
hang on.
Ian, if the money was there for Gallagher and the money was there for Gray, yeah, why did we not go and basically do what Newcastle did and get a Tonali, which was one of the most sought after, established young players in football? I know a lot of people over here hadn't really heard of him because a lot of people don't really follow Serie A. But worldwide, he was a very known player and very wanted. He was basically looked on in Italy like the next best thing to Pirello, basically. Even contemplated towards Roberto Baggio on his feet. And why couldn't we go out and do that then? Why have we got to go for some...
Was it not mentioned, Dan?
Why have we got to go for some 40 million kid that has never even played top football in his life and go and whack him in for 40 million just to, when we could have spent, if the money was there, like you said, we could have just said, well, we can't get Gallagher. So what we'll do, we'll go and get a player that will work into this first team. We'll go and get a Tonali. I mean, if Newcastle can do that when they did.
So why are we
the year before, to be fair, wasn't it?
Gallagher as the comparison? Who the fuck wanted Conor Gallagher?
I'm just saying, the reason I'm saying Tonali is because he's the type of player, the established player we should have gone
it's an
for.
example. It's an example. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I just say though? Hang on. Can we look at it like this, right? When we're saying Leeds will be gutted that they've lost Gray, I look at it the other way. Archie Gray has played in that Leeds first team for 1 year, mainly as a right back. They've sold him for more money than I can remember us selling anyone other than Harry Kane for that came through our youth team. Tell me if I'm wrong, right? I think he costs more than Skip. He costs more than Winks. They've got 35 to 40 million for a kid that's done nothing. Yeah. Then went and won the Premier League, right? Then went and won the Championship to get back into the Premier League. They've had us over a barrel. Leeds are.
You know what, mate? It wouldn't surprise me if we loaned him fucking back to Leeds this season. And then you know what we have? We have Brian fucking Hill all over again. Because didn't we pay 40 million quid, 30 million quid for Brian Hill and then loan him
30.
back?
Yeah, 30.
We paid 30 million, plus we gave them Lamella, and then we gave them back Brian Hill 2 years later. It wouldn't surprise me if the exact same thing happens here.
Hill was just a player who was not made for that Premier League. I'm
not sure Archie Gray is right now.
And that's what I was about to say. And Archie Gray don't exactly look like he's made for it either. But in that aspect, he is only 19. Hopefully he will. Hopefully he will start growing up, basically. Or maybe he needs a couple of injections like Messi or whatever. I don't know.
Who does he start for? I always say this. Who does he start for in the Premier League at centre mid? I'm going to go out there and say no one.
I think it's a fair challenge, but I also think you can also not write a player off completely at 19, first season. Because look, Vitinha is a good
understand why did we buy him? Like this was 40 million pounds. Like I want for 40 million pounds, you should be coming in and there must be a reason why we spent that money.
Which Premier League clubs are going to take him and play him 35 games of the season next year?
No one.
No one.
Would Leeds even do it? Would Leeds even come up and take him on loan to play him consistently?
No. We have been absolutely mugged off, and I hold my hands up because at the time I said he's a really good player. We overpaid. The only part of that I was right was that we overpaid. He's not a really good player yet. I'm not writing him off either. He might go on to be a good player. But if we're holding Matisse Tell to those standards, we've got to hold Archie Gray to those standards as well. And for everyone that's got a problem with Matisse Tell, you should have a problem with Archie Gray.
I have a problem with both of them. I have a massive problem with both of them.
That's fine.
Look, this is the thing for me, right? I see people in the chat say things like, we should loan him to Leeds next season, let him play 46 games. Sorry, if I'm Leeds United and I'm coming up, I think I know I'm in a relegation battle, right? Is that fair to assume, guys, that Leeds will probably be in the bottom 5 unless they have a brilliant season, right?
They're going back down again, mate. Of course they are.
Right. So if I'm Leeds, am I turning around and saying, I'll tell you what I need in a relegation battle. I need a kid who's not played defensive midfield for 2 years.
You said it so well, Savva.
Right, he's going to be my main guy in midfield for 46 games. This is why when we say, "Oh, let's loan him to one of the promoted teams," if you're a promoted team, you're in a relegation battle. You want real men in there. You want hard-working men, leaders, seniors, pros. This is what I don't understand.
Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. Frank wanted him. Brentford put the price tag on him, not Spurs. Brentford put the 40 million up. Spurs had to pay it to stop him joining Brentford. Frank wanted him then. He wanted him now. He was one of the few players that Frank mentioned in his initial interview when joining as manager this week, just gone. Frank rates him. Let's see.
Yeah, that gives me, you know what, for everyone that's sitting there right now looking at like the 9-minute clip of Thomas Frank and going, you know, I'm so glad if I'm honest, it's moments like that when you get reminded of the fact that he wanted him for 40 million quid as well, that makes you go, maybe the talent ID isn't as great. Maybe it's down. Maybe the data that he benefited from is the real success story out of Brentford. I'm not sure.
You can run that argument both ways, though, can't you? Because you can say Brentford wanted him and not Frank, couldn't you? It could have been
look at the players he's coached over the last 5-6 years and made them better. Like everyone who goes there, they get better and sold for big money. Look at he did it with Watkins, did it with Conser, did it with.
But that doesn't mean that I had this conversation with you before. It doesn't mean that those players were not destined to be great players because the data we don't know. We don't know but you can make that same. You can take that same sample of like you've got a great manager and you've got a great data system. You can't judge with Brentford because they haven't got other managers that have come in subsequently to find out whether they had the same success. But with Brighton, there is a sample size, right? Graham Potter was given all of this like superlatives around his ability to coach players. He went to Chelsea after Brighton. He left the data system behind. The data carried on bringing in new players. The next manager carried on selling great players for ridiculous profits on the previous on what they bought them for. Graham Potter went to Chelsea and then he went to West Ham, and thus far has been an abject failure at both. Right, so I'm just saying.
Well, I do feel that's a bit harsh. I mean, listen,
okay,
Chelsea was
batshit crazy. Chelsea was batshit crazy, and West Ham's too soon to tell. I hear you, but if you can't judge Thomas Frank because there wasn't another Thomas Frank at Brentford, but the same model is employed at Brighton, and Brighton managed to carry on finding great young talent at cheap prices and sell them a couple of years after Graham Potter left and De Zerbi came in, yada, 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 then you can make the argument that maybe the benefit, maybe the story of great talent being sold for more wasn't a Thomas Frank thing. Maybe it's a data thing.
No, but Sean, I hear what you're saying, but you've still got, it doesn't matter what data you've got for a player coming in when they're that young. You've still got to coach them to that level.
Yeah, but but Graham Potter was given the credit that Thomas Frank was, but then Graham Potter moved on, didn't do it at the next places, and De Zerbi came in. Are we saying that everyone that Brighton finds is just as good as the last guy because they all have the same?
No. But there's a difference. When we're saying, again, when we use the Potter answer, it's very different, right? Because when Graham Potter's going to Chelsea and he's there for like 6 months or 5 months, whatever he was there for, how are we ever going to know who he would have coached better or not? If he's there for 5 months, sure.
No, I hear you. Right? But no, that's fine. But I'm saying that the reality is that he didn't succeed at Chelsea and he hasn't yet succeeded at West Ham. In fact, West Ham had their worst finish for years. And then
he's had like 5 months, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I hear you. So I'm not using that as the only part of my point. But then you go back to Brighton and go, well, what happened after De Zerbi? After Graham Potter. Well, De Zerbi came in and he also bought players under a transfer database system for £10 million and sold them for £100 million. So
yeah, but you're looking at the wrong thing. See, you're looking at the wrong thing. What Brighton do is bring in coaches who can coach. So they're bringing the young players in, then bringing in the coach. Look at everyone Brighton have had.
Maybe.
Potter's a coach. De Zerbi's a coach.
All right.
Hertzler is a coach.
Maybe, but you're basing your knowledge of them on the fact that you're saying that they're coaches because their track record that you know of them is at Brighton, where they did those things. But I'm saying it's still a double-edged sword. You don't know whether it was the data that was leading the coach or whether it was the coach that was leading the data. We don't know.
To coach them. Mate, you've got to listen. I'm sorry. When you've got hang on. When you've got 7 years of data that shows you all the players that Thomas Frank has coached better. Now, we're not even talking about just young players.
You don't know what he's coached. I'm saying these guys, but my point is that these guys might have been on that trajectory anyway. Like Harry Kane. How much of Harry Kane, let's use Harry Kane as a story, right? Harry Kane came through Tottenham. Was Harry Kane's trajectory because he was working under Harry Redknapp and fucking Conte and Yadi and Mourinho, all that stuff, or was Harry Kane destined to be like that anyway because he was one of the best ever? I'm saying that we don't know.
Him. Oh, you do?
No, hang on a sec. So you're saying that if Harry Kane came through the West Ham system, he wouldn't have done better than Jared Bowen?
Spurs were going to sell Kane. Sherwood wouldn't let it happen in the end.
That's not the point. That's an irrelevant point.
Hang on.
It's whether the player was destined to be great anyway.
Sure, but the problem is what we're doing here is we're just taking away from. Listen, Thomas Frank is widely regarded as a great coach, right?
Why?
Hang on, Sean. Hang on. Now, if you're a great coach, yeah, lots of players will develop under you, right? Nearly everyone that Thomas Frank has taken to that football club, he's not just coaching them to this level. Look at them. Look what he did with Ivan Toney.
But you're assuming that. My point is, mate, is that all of those players came to Brentford under the data model. So my point is,
we're just completely removing how brilliant someone is at their day job here.
I'm not removing anything. I think you're disregarding how amazing their data science is.
You can have all the data science you want. When those players come through at 17, 18, 19, it doesn't matter what data they've got if they're not coached and molded. Right?
Or maybe they were Harry Kane type superstars that no one had heard of for the data. I don't know, but they say all of them. How many? You're talking about Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney, and Boomo. How many players did Brentford sell for 40, 50 million?
Hang on, it's not about 50 million. He's been there 7 years. Right?
You're saying all of these players.
Let me answer then.
How many of them are sold?
Ask a question and don't let me answer. You keep asking a question and don't let me finish the sentence.
I'm asking you the same question. How many of them sold?
So if you look down the years, look at the sheer number of them. Look at people like Neil Maupay. Yeah, what he did for him. Look at Ben Rama. Look at what do you mean? What's that for?
What did he do?
But what do you mean? Frank coached him, and then he got a move to a bigger football club.
And so what, was he a superstar?
No. See, Sean, you're doing a really disingenuous thing now. You're not
disingenuous, mate. I'm not.
Please let me finish the sentence. Please let me finish the sentence.
You're being disingenuous and you expect me not to react.
Oh, this is really difficult. You won't let me finish the sentence. This is really difficult.
And don't call me disingeneous and don't expect me to react.
Let me finish the sentence.
I'll let you finish, but be careful with the choice of words that you use.
Jesus Christ, this is such hard work. Neil Maupay, right, is a guy that came in, for me, limited. He's a limited footballer. Did really well at Brentford, got a move. Frank made him better. Ben Rama. I don't know why we're laughing. Ben Rama.
I'm laughing. It's a terrible example of your point. Terrible example.
Please let me finish.
I'm letting you finish.
I'm going through. Neil Maupay, Ezra Konsa, David Raya, Tony, Watkins, Mbeumo. Look what he's doing with Damsgaard. Look what he's just done with Keane Lewis Potter.
You are missing my entire point, mate. Sorry, I've heard enough of your answer now. I've heard enough of your answer. You're doing this again, where you just keep talking and talking and talking. I've heard enough of your answer. You are missing my entire point, that you do not know whether or not the data was responsible for identifying these players before we knew who they were. No, I'm not saying what. I'm saying you don't know, bro. I'm saying you don't know. So what? So the data's irrelevant. So the data's irrelevant. So when I've heard you say for the last 3 years that I've known you, when can we start acting like Brighton and Brentford? What you're really saying is, when can we get a manager not when can we invoke that data science.
Listen, it's going to be a mixture of the. Listen, it's going to be a mixture of the
Hallelujah.
two. Hang on, Sean. If you shut up for 1 second and let someone finish a sentence, yes, there's going to be a mixture. The data's got to be good to start with, right? But you still have loads of players that have brilliant data. This young player is going to be brilliant, and if they're not coached properly from that young age, they're not going to make it. Brentford have outperformed year after year after year, and everybody this manager works with, who's gone to Brentford that's not done well under this manager? We can say
under the data system.
Oh yeah, but you've still got to coach them. You've got to coach them.
Mate, you're missing my entire point.
You've never done any coaching, have you? I can tell. You've never been in and around coaching.
Can I speak now? Can I speak now? Can I speak? Is that okay?
It's mental.
Is that okay if I speak? No, I want some permission. Is that okay if I speak?
Sean, I shut up 5 seconds ago. Hurry up. I shut up ages ago and you're not talking. Come on.
Yeah, cool. Just want to make sure you finish your paragraph, not your sentence.
Fuck's sake, man. This is dumb. We're getting silly now. We're getting silly. I stopped talking and you're still doing this. Can I talk?
No, this is what you do. This is what you do all the time, mate. You do it all the time. You do this all the time.
I stopped talking. Get to your point. I stopped talking.
The point I've been making the entire time, Savva, is that you don't know. You're allocating all of the growth to the manager. And I'm not saying that it's not the manager's part of the story. What?
I didn't say that. You've got to have both right.
Can I finish my sentence? Can I finish my sentence? I feel like there's a mirror going on here. Somebody hold a mirror. All I'm saying is I don't know whether or not the technical data team are responsible or the coach. I'm sure it's a blend. But what you're saying is that he's responsible for all of the development. And I'm saying, how do we know? How do we know? Because at Brentford, he's been there for 7 years. But when you look at Brighton that have an exact template of the same system and you see the same thing happening with 4 different managers, at some point you might go, is it 4 managers that are all brilliant? Or maybe the data gets a little bit more credit than we're giving it? Sure. That's the only question I'm asking. The only question I'm asking.
And as I said, I never attributed 100% to him. I've said you've got to get both right. But the players still need to be coached. Brighton, what they're brilliant at as well, forget bringing in players. Brighton always have their next coach ready to go. They've done their homework on their next coach. I guarantee right now, Brighton
via the data.
Sure, but they're bringing in coaches that coach. This is the difficulty. Spurs for years keep bringing in managers, not coaches, right? So we don't know if the data of the young players we've brought in is immaculate. If you bring them in under managers that don't know how to develop them, Angepostecoglou is the perfect example. You could give him all the best data in the world to sign a youngster. He doesn't know how to coach that youngster better. Yeah. The Thomas Franks, the De Zerbis, the Potters, these people know how to do it, but they don't do it overnight. So when we're saying, oh, look at Potter when he went to Chelsea, Potter's remit at Chelsea wasn't take all these 18-year-olds that were bought by data. Chelsea were going out and spending 50, 60 million pounds on kids. And they're going, win now, Potter, win now. And he's like,
Chelsea have turned those players are starting to mature into good players, and Chelsea are suddenly back in the conversation. Not because of Graham Potter, in spite of him. West Ham United.
I think you two are debating.
They went down like this.
You two are debating the same subject, but different sides of it. Sean is right on his point. We don't know whether it was the manager or coach, whatever you want to say, that spotted him and then said, do the data, or whether the data basically got put over to the manager from there. I'll agree with that. But then Savva's also 100% right on what he's saying as well. In the different part of the debate that he's arguing, I think you're arguing 2 different points here, is the fact that he can have all the great data in the world, or the manager could have picked him, or whatever else and all that. But when he comes to the club, he still needs to be coached to progress. Which with Ange, as all he had the capability of doing was regressing everybody, basically. And so I think you're both right on what you're saying. I just think you're debating different points of the actual...
100%, Dan, 100%. But the only point I was trying to make from the get-go that Savva had an issue with, that I said, was why we're giving this credit to to Thomas Frank being this incredible coach, but we don't know whether or not the players that he signed, similar to Harry Kane, whether they were destined for greatness anyway. Maybe not to Harry Kane's level, but whether Mbumo and the people like Wissa and all these guys that have come in and just came in at 10 million quid and are now worth 30 or 40, we don't know whether they were just brilliant, absolute talent ID masterclasses from a data system that has had a track record of doing it. And of course, I never argued the fact that they don't need to be coached, but I'm just saying that we're giving all this credit to the guy for being this masterclass.
Do you know why?
Hang on a second, a player developer, purely on the basis that he's taken players, he inherited players at this point, and they're now sold at this point. And I'm saying elsewhere that have the same template, that same thing can be applied to the people at Brighton. And there's question marks about it.
There's a difference.
I'm not saying that Thomas Frank isn't a good coach. I'm just saying that the allocation of accountability for those developments is questionable. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so you think it's questionable. I'll tell you what. When I've spoken to coaches who I know work for Premier League football clubs and the FA, everybody waxes lyrical about this guy and says Thomas Frank's coaching is second to none. Everybody is saying the same thing. You watch any of the pros talk about Thomas Frank, they're all saying this guy is an immaculate coach. Go and watch all of his.
I'm not saying he's not a good coach. You're making a different argument.
Let me think. Right. So when I add all of that together with the body of work he's done, with the players he's upskilled, this man, look at what this man has done this year alone with Mbumo and Wissa. Right. Mbumo and Wissa, who before this year, they were good players, but hadn't had a year like this. He loses his best striker. Then the striker they signed to replace him gets injured in pre-season and misses the entire season. And look what he does to Mbumo and Wissa, right? That's a coach, right? Whenever I watch this man, when I watch his coaching masterclasses and you watch all of these videos about him coaching, you just, and this is the thing, I'll say this, I've been lucky enough to be in and around top coaches when I'm working at football clubs, right? Watch this guy for 1 minute and you go, you're a coach. Watch this guy. Watch the way he talks to the players. Watch the way he talks about the game. This guy's a coach. This guy is a fabulous coach, which is one of the reasons why I really wanted him. He's a top football coach. So for me,
what's that got to do with the question that I asked, though?
What do you mean? I'm just saying, when you're saying we don't know where we can lay the apportion, I'm saying from the people I've spoken to within the professional game of football, at top level coaches who are some of the most highly decorated coaches.
For the purpose of a debate, by the way, that stuff is hearsay, so it's like inadmissible.
No, it's not hearsay. It's not hearsay. I've worked with some top coaches out there.
I'm not calling you a lie. I'm just saying it doesn't work because you're just referencing people that I can't verify. For the point. I'm not even dismissing you. I'm not even dismissing the argument. That's not the point I'm making, mate.
I know it's not. I know it's not. I'm just saying it's not. This is not based on a. I'm saying the data model can be as good as you want, but this guy's got a track record of. It's the volume of players that he does it with. You can't tell me that a data model can just pick every single player is going to work. You have to coach. And that's what I said. When we look at Brighton keep getting coaches. Would these players at Brighton have got that better if they had Antonio Conte in charge for 2 years, who doesn't do the coaching?
Exactly. I'll give you an example.
Hang on, Dan. Right? Okay, Antonio Conte is not a coach. Right, Antonio Conte, from that point of view, is not a coach that's going to go in with the young players and go, right, let me upskill them for 2 years. So if he had gone to Brighton for the last 2 years, a lot of these players you're seeing, like the Ayaris, like the Beliebers, probably wouldn't have even got a game. Right? They probably wouldn't have even got a game under these managers. But that's why Brighton buy coaches. You watch, who's going in to replace Frank at Brentford? It's going to be another coach. It's going to be another coach. It won't be a manager. It will be a coach. This is the difference. These clubs, they put the data model well with the coaches that can improve them. The two marry up, boom. Can't put a manager in there.
So another thing with it as well.
You couldn't put Ange into Brentford and you wouldn't and say Keane Lewis Potter's going to have that trajectory. And Buemo's going to have that trajectory because it's not
So by that logic then Archie Gray should be a perfect signing for Tottenham Hotspur, right?
Right. Let's look at this on a slightly different angle. Take Harry Kane, for example.
5 seconds. Sorry, 5 seconds. By that logic, if Thomas Frank wanted Archie Gray at Brentford,
Sure.
then Thomas Frank can turn Archie Gray into a superstar, correct?
I mean, if we're saying he wanted him at Brentford,
He did want him at Brentford, right? Lou, that's what you said. 40 million quid bid,
hang
right?
on. I'm answering. I'm trying to answer. Right? If he wanted him at Brentford, there's a difference between wanting him in a Brentford team that their remit every year is to stay in the Premier League versus wanting him at a Tottenham where. No, don't do that. I haven't moved any goalposts. There's a huge difference between saying, I want Archie Gray for my Brentford team. All that's expected of us is to stay up every year. And I want him to be a first-team starter at Tottenham Hotspur we're playing.
Not you. Who cares what your opinion is on Archie Gray? I'm saying if Thomas Frank wanted Archie Gray, then by your rationale that he is this master coach that can develop players, then Archie Gray should become a superstar under Thomas Frank's guidance, right? By the rationale that he is a coach, Archie Gray should be able to become a great player, right?
To be fair, Sean, to be fair, by your same rationale, though, shouldn't Archie Gray be a superstar regardless of Thomas Frank coaching him? Because the data said it's right.
Did the data say it was right? Did the data say it was right?
Look at it like this way. Take Harry Kane, for example, yeah? Right. For me, some players are going to make it no matter where you put them because they've just got it. And you can put the other player next to him who can train 10 times harder, 10 times this, 10 times that, and he's never even going to lace the boots of the other one. Some people got things naturally. Take Harry Kane. If Harry Kane wouldn't have got looked after by Sherwood and kept in that place, and then Poch takes over and guides him from there, would Harry Kane have, no matter what, made it as a player because he was that gifted? No, I don't think he would have. For me, Harry Kane was not a naturally gifted player. He made himself, like David Beckham, bang average player, until he spent all the time and got all the coaching and improved on everything he did. He says it in his own autobiography, and Ferguson says it as well. So with that, I don't think Harry Kane would have ended up half the player he would have if we would have let him go when he did. He ended up managing to stay at the right point and get the right coach who could then coach him to his abilities and get better. Some players need that, hands down. Other players, you can pretty much go stick them anywhere, and within a year or two, they will be known. Other players, they need coaching all the way. And obviously, they've got to have their own mentality.
Your argument is Harry Kane, right? Your argument, sorry, Dan. Your argument was Harry Kane wasn't going to make it if it wasn't for Tottenham. Is that what you're saying?
I personally think, personal opinion, nothing more. If Sherwood would have let him go, because Sherwood didn't want to let him go, Levy wanted to get rid of him.
Yeah.
Do I think he'd have made it to the sort of player he is now? No. Why? Because I don't think he was a naturally gifted player. He wasn't a Messi. He wasn't a Bale. He was more of a David Beckham. He had a bit of all right about him, but he had to make himself. He had to work at it to get like that.
But he had the inner drive, right?
Yeah, but he also had the right coach at the right time to guide him the right way as well. Because up until then, he was pretty shit, really. If we're going to be honest about it, every loan he'd been on was pretty much shocking. Millwall, they couldn't wait to see the back of him. And Sherwood saw something in him. Levy wanted to get rid of him. And Sherwood said, no, we got to keep him because he saw something. And then we had no striker. He played a couple of Europa games, scored a goal or two. And then Poch took him on from there and guided him in the right direction. Yeah, I don't think Kane was that naturally gifted that he could have gone to any other club and still become Harry Kane, what he is now.
None of the story that you've just told explains the fact that Tottenham were responsible. Tim Sherwood saying, don't sell him, let him play, made him stay at Tottenham. But you by yourself said he was a self-motivator, an autodidact. So
no, I didn't just say that. I said that Poch then took him on and guided him
the right way. You compared him to David Beckham.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened with David Beckham as well.
David Beckham was someone that worked hard, like Cristiano Ronaldo. Like those guys stayed behind the track. So,
but the difference was Beckham didn't have it naturally. Anyway. Ferguson said it, and Beckham said it as well. They weren't naturally gifted players.
I'm not saying
Beckham was probably the poorest one out of the group. I mean, Nicky Butt was the most one. He had to train, and he got coached the right way.
George Best was naturally gifted and let it go. Right? Maradona was naturally gifted. Pele was naturally gifted. David Beckham and Harry Kane, you might be right in that they were both not naturally gifted, but their development was down to their own self-belief and hard work in themselves.
That was a big part of it. I'll go with that. But they got coached the right way. If they wouldn't have had the right coach to guide them in the right way, would they have gone the same way?
Has Harry Kane ever come out and said, "Oh, I credit everything, all of my skill sets because of Ryan Mason"?
Sean, it was obvious who coached Kane. Daniel Levy came down and done it himself, didn't he? Who do you think coached him? Poch. He was a coach. He wasn't like Ange in the aspect of only.
Harry Kane improved after Poch.
Yeah, because he'd already been guided the right way. By the time Poch left, Kane was an established player. Yes?
I think you're making massive assumptions here. I personally think that Harry Kane was destined for greatness because of his own self-motivation to be the best.
I think that was a big part of it.
Sure, but when we watched him when he was younger, he was not like. Let's be fair. There was many years I watched Harry Kane, and many Spurs fans were going, "This boy's not got it."
Would anyone have buttered an eyelid if we'd have got rid of him?
No,
exactly.
No, not at the time.
He only got looked at because he scored in them couple of Europa games.
You know what?
That gave him the projection, and then we got a good coach.
Whether he did it, where he did it is irrelevant. The fact is, he was always going to do it because he had it in himself. The fact that he did it at Tottenham is irrelevant.
But you still need the right facility and the other coaches around you.
If he was still young at the time,
by the way, this is
Hotspur and went to Sheffield United or Sheffield Wednesday or Norwich or anywhere else, that guy had the self-motivation. You're making a massive assumption.
Yeah.
It didn't look like it when he went there on loan, did it?
I don't think you're listening to what Dan's saying. Dan's not saying that. Saying, like, for example, I remember watching, by the way, Alwyn, you absolutely can coach players to finish. Otherwise, I mean, mate, that's ridiculous. That's
David Beckham got coached to his free kicks. He did not have that naturally.
Hang on. That is absolutely crazy to say that you can't coach players to finish like that. How do you think they get like that in the first place? Come on, man, that's ridiculous. When I watched Kane,
we're giving Harry Kane's trajectory the benefit of Tottenham Hotspur.
No, hang on,
I think it's like a wild misplacement.
No. All I'm saying is, for me, when I watched Harry Kane when he was younger, when I watched him out on loan, it was like, okay, like, nah, like
didn't have a loan period like Solomon did, at least.
Hang on. Let me finish it. Right? He didn't pull up trees wherever he went. Almost like if you actually look at the loan periods that Dane Scarlett's having, right? Yeah. It's not really doing anything, like not scoring goals on it, like Troy Parrott, not scoring goals. So I remember watching, I think it was an England under-20 tournament, under-20, one of the tournaments I remember. So I lived with my mate Woody at the time, my best mate. I remember we were watching the England games. He was going, "Who's this lad up front?" I was going, "Oh, he plays for us." I was like, "He's awful, isn't it?" At the moment, he was like, "He just looks dreadful. Like everything bounced off him. He couldn't shoot." And then over the next few years, he started to learn and grow. You could see that it was coached into him. You could see the positional sense was coached into him. His touch became better. You could see all of these different things, and that coincided with when Pochettino joined the club. He coached him, gave him his, and then when Jose Mourinho got hold of him, Jose took it to another level, not from a coaching point of view, but do you know what? You're a really good player. You can actually drop into the number 10 and be our creator. But what we can't do, right, is coaches. There is a massive difference between a coach and a manager. There's just such a huge difference. And on the whole Archie Gray thing, can Frank coach Archie Gray to be great? Sure. I mean, I haven't seen anything at the moment that makes me think he's going to be great. But if Frank can coach that into him, great. But that's assuming that he's got it in him. You can't just coach every player. Can't be coached.
That was my point at the start of this conversation.
Yeah, but we're saying, all I'm saying is with the data model, you could bring in everyone on the same data. Some of them can be coached to be brilliant. Others will hit that brick wall early on. And that's the difference when the bigger clubs see that early doors. The bigger clubs will see that early doors and they get rid of those players.
So you're not disagreeing with my point at all. You're agreeing with me. We've had an argument for the last half an hour, but you're actually agreeing with my entire point.
Not the entire point. I agree with bits of it. I agree with bits of your point.
I think you're both agreeing with both, bits of it, but then you're disagreeing on the other part.
This guy's talked about in these circles as a top coach. That's why I wanted him. I like what he's done. Like if I look at this year with Damsgaard, the difference between Damsgaard in his first and second year, like you could see he's worked with him. Like you could see what he's done with him. Look at Keane Lewis Potter. I think he's had a brilliant year. Look at Rico Henry. Nathan Collins, who he's brought in, done a brilliant job. Absolute brilliant job. Right? I just think this man, one-to-one with footballers, has done an absolutely superb job. And I want that at Spurs. Now, doesn't mean he's going to do it with every young player. The difference at Spurs is, if you've got an Archie Gray, is Archie Gray going to be afforded the time to get 10 games in a row in the first team the way he might do at Brentford? I don't think he will. And that's the difference. I don't think he'll be afforded that same time. That's the difference between a big club and a small club.
With Kane, it also fell into place in the right time. He basically got the game time, which he wasn't getting, and Spurs were going to get rid of him. Because if we're all going to be honest, in his loans and whatever, he didn't even look like an average player. And if he'd have gone, no one would have buttered an eyelid in the slightest, yeah? He didn't even look as good as Dele Alli did at that age and everything else. And that when Dele Alli was younger, you could see there was a player there. Sure. With Kane, you could see he had the heart, but he did not look good. And then over those couple of Europa games where we had no striker, he got played, scored a couple of goals. Then Poch came in. He played a couple more Europa and scored a goal. Then he played in the Premier League, scored a goal because our striker was limited. And then he got that chance for that run. And he got coached by his coach, by his manager, Poch. And where he also had the mentality himself to do it as well, it all added up right for him. He got it in the right time, in the right place, everything basically. He got the right coach at the right time. He got playing time at the right time, everything. It all fell into sync for him.
And that's the word. Sometimes it's the right place, right time. I also believe that for players at football clubs. You know, sometimes when a player goes to a club and we go, oh, look how bad they flopped. It's like, yeah, but sometimes is it the right setup? Look at a lot of these players that go to Man U. They're not bad footballers.
Salah and De Bruyne didn't make it at Chelsea.
Sure.
Two perfect examples, you know. Sure. And Jose was the manager on both occasions. So sometimes
you see a coach, Lou.
Sometimes it's who a coach.
Look at Poch. Look at Poch as a coach. Look what he did for Walker, Rose, Dembele, right? Ali, Ericsson, Kane, Son, like all of them visibly, you could see that they've been coached. None of them. I wasn't watching Walker or Rose or any of those players before Poch got there and going, God, this is a naturally gifted foot. Poch coached them. You could see he coached. He drilled it into them. He got the best out of them. Little tweaks that coaches see that managers don't.
Sam, I think what happened with Kane is he is the ultimate professional. You know, like first in, last out, practice. And he was, and I heard from friends of mine at Orient, when he was on loan at Orient, he'd been the last one off training. He was kicking a ball at training there. May not have shown up that much, you know, playing for Orient, Leicester, Norwich. They were okay loans. They weren't great.
He was another David Beckham.
That's right. That's right. Look, I'll tell you, even bigger. You know, another one was who admitted that it was just down to his hard work and dedication. Was Kevin Keegan? He won he won European Football of the Year, didn't he? Hamburg. You know, down to pure hard work. And if you've got a level of ability and you're driven and you put everything together, because ability doesn't guarantee you a successful career. You've got to have the mentality as well. And Kane had it.
Another player you look at Ronaldinho, yeah, probably the most gifted technical player ever. I would say he was more technically gifted than Messi. And Messi even admits that it's just a personal opinion, but Messi even admits that Ronaldinho was the one that taught him a few tricks. But his mentality was that poor that he could have possibly been the greatest player ever. And after about 3 years, he sort of lost the taste for it, had his money, and just went on the piss consistently, didn't he? He didn't have the mentality for it. But you do have to, you've got to be coached while you're doing that as well. You've got to be around the right area. You can be mentally strong all you want, but if you don't know what direction to go,
sure.
So you need a coach as well, don't you?
Dan, that's why I'm excited. You know, we're all waxing lyrical about Frank as a coach. Let's see what he does with all these players. Let's not dismiss players. It's easy, like Chuck Solomon out. He played 7 games for Spurs. How can people judge a player on 7 games? Seriously?
Listen, if I've already said there are players that I don't particularly rate. Yeah. I've not seen anything in great. Don't particularly rate Solanke. If Frank comes in, coaches them, and they both start doing bits, As a fan, I'm not arguing that. That's
listen.
their job.
I genuinely think, Sav, there's something about Solomon. It's nothing to do with his religion. If it was to do with religion, I'd be leaving in. But, so that argument goes right. That argument goes right out the window. I genuinely think, having seen Solomon play for Leeds last season at a lower level, we're short of wingers, he should be given an opportunity. I'd like to see. I just want to see. For me,
ahead of who?
No. Just let Frank look at all the players from a.
There's an opportunity cost, Lubo.
No, Sean, we're not Real Madrid. We finished 17th.
There's an opportunity cost, mate. The time that it takes to look these people over, they don't get back to brief. Hang on, they don't get back.
He'll know, Sean. He'll know pretty quickly if he fancies a player.
Yeah, but the time to strike is now, bro. People are trying to get this done now. You want to get Eze, you want to get Semenyo, you want to get Mbumo. You want everyone. You're not happy with the team yet. Everyone that we have or that's been on loan, you also think that they're good players. They should be looked over. How much space do you think we got in the squad?
We're not going to get everybody. Firstly, for me, I'll be happy if we get an Eze and a Palhinha as a start, and we get a left back stroke centre back.
Who leaves from the wing?
He has got you, Lubo.
11
I'm on Team Sean for this debate. He has got you.
11 wingers. You want Eze? That's 12.
We haven't got 11 wingers.
Should it be the guy that was deemed surplus to requirements last year, or should it be the guy that you were begging for more minutes for this season just gone? Either way, both of them have to go to make room for anyone else coming in. So do about 3 or 4 other people. You want everyone to get a chance. There's no time for it, bro.
It's a dog-eat-dog world.
Absolutely.
Can I just say, Lubo, before you come in,
dog eat dog.
If anyone wants to have a preview of what our brand new channel is going to be like, it's this every show. Debate, hard hitting, having a pop at each other, and then laughing afterwards. But you've just had. I've got people in the chat going.
Lubo, it's madness, mate. You chastise the owner. The owner's a dickhead. It's not good enough. You're happy with everyone that we buy. Everyone that we bought that we then loan out, you want to see back again. You're also saying we just sign every other fucker. It's madness, mate. We have 12 wingers at the club. How do you get that number down to 6 if you want everyone to get a chance?
Sean, did you not hear what me and Dan were saying earlier? We have one winger at the club. Only one.
You were asking for Mikey Moore you were saying Mikey Moore's getting top blocked. It's a disgrace. Now you're saying loan him out to West Brom. Make your mind up.
I didn't say he should go to West Brom. I want him at Spurs. I think he'll probably end up at West Brom. I want to see Mikey Moore at Spurs next season. I want to see Son sold. I want to see. I didn't want 10 in the first place. Kulu's a 10, Moore's a 10.
What good would it do keeping Mikey Moore? Really, I'm not saying sell him, but for next season, what good would it?
If he gets minutes,
he's going to get minutes.
How do we know? Let's see what Frank comes back with.
Let's just use a bit of initiative here and common sense. He's 16 coming on 17.
17
Looks like he's okay. 17 coming on 18. Sorry, and he's definitely not established as a player. He's definitely raw as, but you can definitely see there is potential and skill there. Significantly better than Archie Gray. But at the end of the day, he's just another kid. So actually keeping him here isn't going to do any favours. We'd actually probably be better off if we stuck him out on loan. Are you telling me we are going to get Mikey Moore and Archie Gray playing up against Bayern Munich, Juventus, or bloody...
Dan, even if Mikey Moore is the guy, here's the problem, right, with the logic that people like Lubo, and I love you to pieces, Lubo, you're one of my favourite people, right? I love you to pieces. But for the love of fucking God, mate, all I ask for is consistency. Last season, you were begging for the geezer to get minutes. I've heard you last week saying loan him out to West Brom when I challenged you.
He will be loaned out to West Brom.
Hang on, let me finish my point. When I challenged you on the fact that we have 11 wingers at the club and we need to get that number down to 6 before you can even 5, before you can even think about bringing someone else in. Last week you were saying bring in Semenyo and bring in Mbumo. Now tonight you're saying give me Eze and give me Palhinha. I'll leave Palhinha out for a second, even though he doesn't make that much sense in this system either. But you move your needle every time we get on a screen together. You move your needle on who it is that you want. But clearly you're not happy with the 11 wingers that we have. Yet the geezer that was deemed to be lowest of the pecking order, you want to see him come back to get time at the bar in a pre-season that is irrelevant because it's a glorified fitness test. If you don't know whether he's good enough because of the championship, what the granny are you going to learn from him in a pre-season friendly in South Korea? It's really bonkers, mate. Make up your fucking mind, Lubo.
Oh, Sean, you've lost it, mate. I'll tell you why you've lost
it. I'm asking for some consistency.
Do you think Thomas Cook, Thomas Frank thinks pre-season is like pointless? Do you think he's coming in? It's just
you can't learn anything from the pre-season that you didn't already know about. The competitive. What's going to be more competitive? Tottenham against fucking Newcastle in a pre-season in South Korea, when everyone's on the back of like 3 weeks off and they're just running around doing sprints up and down the pitch before and after the game, or what he did for Leeds United in the Championship.
What do you think, Sean? So do you think we should have appointed Frank the day before our first league game? Because all the pre-season's a waste of time. It's irrelevant. Should we have just brought Frank in? Right, bang. 15th of August, we're playing tomorrow against Burnley. Now you're manager.
The pre-season's where you try a few things out. You get a few players a bit of fitness, basically. You're not going to work out in the pre-season. Yeah, Solomon. Yeah, definitely, mate. He's good enough. He's gonna turn up for us against Bayern Munich, 110%, just because he done it in 2 or 3 friendlies. It don't happen like that.
What are you going to learn from what could you possibly learn from a pre-season friendly that you couldn't have worked out from his championship level or his previous performances? It's madness. It's madness. And the bigger part of the madness for me, mate, is that there is something in life called an opportunity cost. Every second you're doing something is a second that you could be doing something else. And if Leeds United are waiting around trying to go, I'll pay you £15 million, and people like you, Lubo, are saying, no, give that guy a chance because he scored 20 GA against teams like Portsmouth and teams like Stockport fucking County. You know what? Leeds are going to turn around and go, actually, bollocks, I can't be asked to wait anymore. I'm going to go and get this guy over here. And then we are stuck with a guy that can score a goal against a second-tier team, but he can't do fuck all in the Premiership because you want to give a geezer a chance. He's already had a chance. He ain't good enough. Sell the guy for £15 million, put that money into the pot to go and get the guy that you also say that you want, like Semenyo or Eze or anyone else. Anyone else here?
I love you dearly, Sean, but I respect Thomas Frank's opinion on the player ahead of yours. I'm sure.
So do I.
What do you want?
They should check Solomon's status, didn't they?
Do we go and get Eze then?
Of course you do. You can never have enough.
Right. Then we got to make some sort of space, though, haven't we? And if
sell some,
then right, and Solomon, because he's going to cost 65 million. We know Levy don't pay that shit up front, so you're going to have to make some sort of space.
It's 3 chunks, evidently, 20 million each, allegedly.
Okay, fine, then it's changed. But still, Levy ain't even going to like paying that much. He don't even like paying like the 20 mil up front usually. But either way, right, Eze, you're coming to Spurs, right? You're going to be our main man. That's going to be one of his main attractions there. He walks into that team. So what about the other 11 players around him and everything and that? Some of them have got to go for sure. So instead of pissballing about with Solomon, sometimes, like I've said, it's a dog-eat-dog world. It's not fair out there. Maybe you deserve a second and a third chance because you're improved. Sorry, a lot of things in life, you don't get that chance. You get that one chance, you take it. There's not very often that you get many chances with it. Solomon has had chances and he did not bloody take it. And do we now keep him and hang on to him until it comes to the end of the transfer window when we decide, do you know what? I just don't think he's good enough. Maybe we should try and get Eze now. And then everyone will go off their head. Daniel Levy, you top prick. Why are you leaving it to the last minute? Why didn't you go and buy him 3-4 weeks earlier when we knew we only had Solomon sitting there?
That's not happening because they will go and get Eze early.
Oh, there we go.
Hang on.
But if they don't, then Levy out. But if they don't, then Levy out, right? That's what he's...
Let me clarify, right? Let me clarify. I think the viewers are loving this, by the way. So
of course they are.
We want to keep more Yang tell
No, didn't say Yang.
and Solomon.
Didn't say Yang. Didn't say
We
Yang.
also want to bring in Eze and Semenyo Orenbuemo. But we've got Kulu. We've also got Brennan Johnson. And
Don't forget Richarlison. Don't forget
and
Richarlison.
we keep forgetting Odeber. We've got Odeber as well. Anyway, guys.
And Brennan Johnson. Yeah, and Brennan Johnson as well. Don't forget that. You know, Lubo wants it all. Lubo wants it all.
Lubo does want it all, and he deserves it all. He deserves it all for the amount of money he pays to his mate Daniel Levy every year. He deserves it. You deserve it, Lubo. Guys, it went really well, didn't it? I said exactly an hour ago that we're finishing at 11:30, and it's 20 past midnight. I'm going to be in trouble with the wife, but never mind. Big up to Jamie, who said, "You never know, we might pay 80 million for his brother." Now, this was so long ago this chat was put in. Let's have a guess. Who were we talking about?
Harry Gray.
Oh, Harry Gray. Jamie, if we did pay 80 million for his brother, Lubo would be getting a flag right next to the Archie Gray one going, "Oh, we've got to play a double pivot of Harry and Archie." That's what Lubo would be after. Then having a go
and still say Levy out.
For not buying a top midfielder. Big up to you, Jamie. Really appreciate that. Paul French just said, "I don't like it when Daddy and Daddy fight." Paul, get used to it. When this new channel drops, you're going to have this every show. Every show is going to be bloody brilliant. Big up to you, Paul, and Dylan as well. Big up to you. Thanks, Dylan. I said, people underestimate what the right coach can do for a player. All Frank's players love him. Data only takes you so far. Coach helps fulfill potential. Listen, thank you. Listen, a lot of very true words said there. I think Sean.
That was my point, though. That wasn't your point, was it? That was my point.
I'm not even starting it again. Guys and girls, first of all, thank you very much. Tonight we've had 30 new subscribers, which is crazy for a last-minute show on a Saturday night. Thank you very much. First of all, Connor, thank you, mate, for joining the absolute madness that is Spurs YouTube. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and hopefully next time you bring popcorn so that you can sit back and watch Lubo get roasted by everybody on the panel. It's good fun.
Thank you for having me, mate.
Connor's going off to get his paracetamol now, aren't you, Connor?
I am.
Nathan, Connor's
he's never going to come back.
Connor's going to become a regular on the Spurs Talk Show. And I already getting to know him backstage. I know he's got feisty in him. So once he gets a little bit more confident,
we'll get it out of him.
With the opinions, he's going to be worse than me for riling people up in about 2 weeks.
Connor, I'll give you this promise. When Archie becomes established, I'll remember you tonight.
Thank you.
If Lubo had his way, Archie Gray wouldn't only be the number 6, he'd be the new club captain as well. That's what he
and then he'd have him live on the show. He'd just go down the cellar and get him and bring him upstairs, isn't it?
You know, in the back of programs where you can see which companies have sponsored a player. You know, they sponsor the player on the back of the program. You definitely sponsor Archie Gray's shirt, don't you? You definitely sponsor Archie Gray's shirt.
He's got faith. He's got faith. Fair play.
I do need to go. Listen, please. Thank you to Connor. Thank you to Lubo. Those guys are there. You go. There's their links on X. So at Levynomics 1882 and then at Lubo_61. Please subscribe to the Hotspur Hood. Please subscribe to Spurs Talk Show as well. Keep subscribing to me. I don't have anything tomorrow until the Spurs review tomorrow night at 7:30. So I'm going to have a bit of a day away from YouTube until 7:30 tomorrow night. Thank you very much. Without you lot in the chat, none of this means anything. So thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. You know you love the rows. You know you love me and Sean getting annoyed at each other. Okay, this is what you do. No, this is what you do. You shut up. I'll shut up. I'll shut up. You love it. And then my channel gets called an echo chamber. I don't think so. Take care, everyone.
I think I got called an anti-Semite a couple of times tonight from my take. Even though what I was suggesting is exactly the same as people who said that people that are anglophiles maybe are also from the part of the world that happens to be Australia. Exactly the same sort of comment. But, you know, Agendas have got to agenda. It is what it is. Thanks for having me, Savva. I enjoyed it tonight. It was fun.
Have got to agenda. I like that. Guys, girls, as always, I won all the debates tonight. So thank you for watching. Take care. And as always, come on, you Spurs.